I'm also moved by it.
Yes. Yes, tell me about that. What moves you?
You talking to me?
Welcome back to another episode of the Pretentious Film Bros. And as we alluded to, we're here to talk about the movies, the TV shows, and the films that have come out this far in the year 2026. Was it a good year? Was it a great year? Has it been a total dud at the movie theaters? That's what we're here to find out today. Now, we thought we would start this off a traditional way. We're going to start with some of the movies that we've seen that are outside of maybe what the other person has seen. We're going to call these our outliers. Now, Brady, you've definitely got me way beat on the number of movies that you've seen. So I'm going to go ahead and let you start. What are some of your outlier picks? And then after we finish those, we're going to move into our top 10, our top 5, and the movies we really, really think defined the year so far that we really want to spend some time with. But first, the outliers. Brady, what have you been watching in the theaters or on streaming?
No, yeah, I'm glad that you talked about. I'm glad you had me beatbox. I haven't beatboxed in a long time, so I'm glad you had us start that way. But yeah, and I want to say too, like I definitely have maybe watched more 2026 releases than you have, but you still have me beat on numbers of movies you've watched total this year. And we were even discussing at the beginning better movies. You've definitely watched better movies than I have this year.
Yeah, you've been collecting bad movies like they're Infinity Stones the past couple of weeks. So
yeah, which might lead us into a very interesting conversation come at the end of the year at our end of the year recap. But so what I'll do is I think I have 12 outliers and I believe you have 3. So
right.
with that, I'll list 4 of my outliers. I'll do them in alphabetical order and then I'll have you come in and talk. Another thing on our 2026 ranking, I'm not going to talk about where these list in my ranking because I want to keep the suspense for as long as I possibly can. So I'm going to do these in alphabetical order. So the first one that I'm going to mention that I got to catch up with just the other night is 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. This one was on my list for a long time, especially after watching 28 Years Later last year. But I just didn't get a chance to see it in theaters. And somehow, some way, I don't know how to explain it. And I'm not even going to tell you the streaming company because I don't want to get in trouble. But I got access to watch 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple for some strange, odd reason.
That sounds
so
a little
I took
fishy.
It. Maybe, but we'll just keep it under wraps. Nothing terrible with it. So, but 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple is the first one in alphabetical order. The next one that I got to watch that you unfortunately didn't get to see is the Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender. The very notoriously leaked film that came out a couple months ago where people were already watching it from all these like either Reddit leaks or through some other means of streaming. And so the one that also was kept from theaters for some bizarre reason. I don't know why they decided not to stream that. They would have made a crap ton of money. They would have made more than that. They probably would have made 8 crap tons. But they definitely would have made more money than if it just went to stream. But that was my next one. The other one that I got to catch up with in alphabetical order that you were really bummed you didn't get to catch was Backrooms.
Yes.
And of course, this was one of my most anticipated films of the year. Despite not being a huge fan of the series when it came to YouTube, I was just excited to see another YouTuber get to have the reins to direct their own film. As aspiring filmmakers, we love watching people get that opportunity and getting to see someone like Kane Parsons, who I don't know if you've heard or not, he's 20 years old. He got to direct the movie. So that's so exciting.
Let that sink in for you.
And so that's, just incredible. So one I was really excited to catch. And the other one that sort of popped up under the radar that I wasn't really anticipating, but when I saw about it, heard it starred one of my favorite characters from Stranger Things, Baker Montgomery, who played Billy. I went and saw Faces of Death. And I can't wait to talk about that one more in depth because while it might not rank the highest on my ranking, the more it sits with me, the better that movie becomes. So I'm excited to talk about that. So those are my first four in alphabetical order.
Well, my first outlier was actually a sequel that came out in early May, and that was The Devil Wears Prada 2, which was a very interesting movie for me to go see because I'm not really a huge fan of the original Devil Wears Prada. In fact, I thought it was pretty meh the first time I watched it.
Mm.
Now I've since rewatched it and I grew an appreciation more for it. But then, of course, my wife really wanted to go see Devil Wears Prada 2. And so we went and saw it. And I had a really good time with it. I was actually pleasantly surprised. Of course, it's Meryl Streep, it's Anne Hathaway, it's Emily Blunt, it's Stanley Tucci. You're going to have a good time irregardless. So my first outlier was the sequel, The Devil Wears Prada 2.
That is a perfect segue into my next outlier, because my wife and I, right before she went to the hospital to give birth, we went and saw a movie. It was actually on her due date, which is just, you know what, we're out here living life. And she went with a friend to see The Devil Wears Prada 2, and I went with my brother and one of his friends, and we went to see Hokum. So not the other side of the spectrum as far as films go, but while my wife was watching The Devil Wears Prada 2, I was watching the Adam Scott horror by Damian McCarthy, Hokum. And definitely the best of Damian McCarthy's 3 films that he's had that are features at least. He might have some short films, but out of the 3 features of his, this one is definitely, for me, the best of his work. So that was my number 5. My number 6 is another horror movie. Again, in alphabetical order, I want to put on the record. In fact, when I bring this up in the ranking, you won't even be surprised. But I'm just going to say it now. This is all of the words I have for this movie. I saw Ice Cream Man. It was a mystery movie. I did not know what I was getting into. This is an Eli Roth feature, and it is arguably the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life. And for more reasons than one. And I'm not even factoring into the kind of person Eli Roth is. I don't know who Eli Roth is behind closed doors, but I know what he does whenever he's on a set. And for me, not a fan. So that was the next one I had on my list. Ice Cream Man. Did not knowingly go to this movie. In fact, saw the trailer for this movie a number of times for the different horror movies we saw, for much, much better horror movies we saw. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, that just looks terrible. So, anyway, moving on to our next one. This one was for one of our favorite podcasts we listened to. This was Adam's favorite movie so far of 2026, and that is Matt Johnson's Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. So I have never seen the web series that was Nirvana, the band, the show, or the show that was on Hulu, which I don't believe they're the same thing. I think they're different. But I was anticipating Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. A lot of people were really talking about it. They were really excited for it. I had no idea what to expect. It is a funny movie. One of my favorite YouTubers, actually, Anthony Fantano, who does The Needle Drop, and he does music reviews all the time. He has a small cameo in the movie, which I remembered him kind of mentioning before. But then when I watched it, I was caught completely off guard when I saw him again. So that was just really exciting. And this is it's a funny movie. It's such a good time. And the next one before we'll break is another kind of surprise. One of my favorite TV actors, Jason Segel, meaning one of the best actresses in the horror genre today, Samara Weaving. And that is the same person who brought you pop star Never Stop, Never Stopping. And that is Over Your Dead Body. And that one was a very fun horror comedy, much more comedy than horror, but still a great time at the movies. One of those that you have a good time with, you kind of think about for a minute, and it's not lingering with you, but every time you think about it, you're like, yeah, that was a good time. I had a good time with that. So that's my next 4.
Sometimes those movies really are the best. So my next outlier was kind of a big one, but also kind of a pretty big bomb at the box office. And that was The Mandalorian and Grogu. It was the newest Star Wars movie. A lot of people have been referring it to as The Mandalorian Season 4, which it kind of is. Um, After watching all the way through the first 3 seasons and also Boba Fett to get to where we could watch The Mandalorian, not because we couldn't watch The Mandalorian without it, but because we wanted to have all the backstory going into the movie. The movie definitely does begin right where season 3 kind of ends, to where you don't need season 3 to enjoy The Mandalorian and Grogu, but you see, oh, okay, they did connect the time frame in that sense, which is really nice to have that knowledge looking back. But yeah, it's a movie that did terrible at the box office. It bombed. I don't know if people are over Star Wars. I don't know if people didn't want to try to see all 3 seasons of Mandalorian and this show and that show before they saw the movie. The Mandalorian and Grogu is a Star Wars movie for people who know that Star Wars movies are for children. And to say that is going to get me a lot of Star Wars hate, possibly. And I'm one of the biggest Star Wars fans that you might meet. I grew up on it. My sister and I grew up playing with lightsabers in our backyard, pretending to use the Force. When the Clone Wars came out, she was always Ahsoka Tano and I was Captain Rex. I mean, these movies meant a lot to me in my childhood and teen years growing up. But one thing that, as a Star Wars fan, I've always been grateful that I was able to remember is these are movies for children. They're space fantasy adventure movies. And if you like that aspect of Star Wars, if you enjoy the Ewoks from Return of the Jedi, The Mandalorian and Grogu is along that same type of space journey. It's along that same type of kind of lightheartedness, but it's also got the peril. And it really is fun. If you're a Star Wars fan and you've missed this movie, it's now out to stream. You can rent it. It is worth your time. You do not have to have seen all 5 seasons of whatever show to watch this. It helps to know who the Mandalorian is. It helps to know who Grogu is. But really, this is a Star Wars movie for Star Wars fans who still enjoy the films and don't take themselves all that too seriously. So that's my next flyer.
That also, I don't know, we didn't plan this, but that also perfectly segues into my next one as far as alphabetical goes, and that is number 9 on my list, alphabetically, not necessarily in my ranking, and that is Project Hail Mary, Ryan Gosling's big breakout film this year from Christopher Miller and Phil Lord, who have done, I won't say irreparable damage on the Lego genre, but they definitely have been for me, they have always been 21 Jump Street. Mm-hmm. That is that's always been my favorite. So, so Project Hail Mary, it's a great time at the movies, and I'm not one of those people who thinks it's the greatest sci-fi adventure of all time, or I don't have any affinity for the book. So for me, I had a good time. I got in, had some laughs, I left. It's a great movie, but it's nothing I'm like thinking about constantly day in, day out. So yeah, Project Hail Mary. So next to my list is a movie that I can't wait to forget, and that is Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. And while if you remove the 2, one of the best sequel titles maybe of all time, the movie is not one of the best sequels of all time. It's reheated nachos, and the first nachos were not that good to me. Why did I think this one was going to be better? I don't know.
You were living in hope.
I was living in hope and thought, you know what, this would be a great time for it to be awesome, and it was not. So far, Radio Silence, they're okay. They're competent directors, but they're not my favorite horror directors working. The next one is actually one that I did not catch up with on streaming. I bought it blindly at the Criterion sale, and that is Hjálmur Pálmasson's The Love That Remains. Now, you might recognize that Icelandic name as the same director who directed Godland, one of my favorite movies of last year that I watched. And so it didn't come out last year, but I finally got to catch up with it last year. And this movie is so not Godland, and that's totally okay. It's its own type of movie, showing the length that Hjálmur Pálmason can really reach. There's some surreal elements. We'll get to talk a little bit about it later, as it is definitely an important film of this year for me. And last but not least, my last outlier, number 12, alphabetically speaking, They Will Kill You. Now, this was one that a lot of people were really excited about when it came out, and I can see why. Zazie Beetz does a great job. The Patricia Arquette does a pretty decent job. She's pretty funny, pretty entertaining. But it is Kill Bill, John Wick, The Cabin in the Woods, Ready or Not, all bundled up into a movie with some camera flair. It's fun. It's forgettable. So that's my last of the outliers before we jump into our ranking. And I know you have one more outlier as well.
Yep. So I've got one more, another one that bombed pretty spectacularly at the box office. Got a lot of hate preemptively before the movie even really came out because of the actress opening her mouth, I guess is how this went down again. But that was Supergirl.
Mm-hmm.
And I will stand briefly, put it here briefly, as a defender of Supergirl. Now, this is John Wick in space with superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what Supergirl is. The whole movie starts because her dog gets shot. Because Crypto gets hurt.
Wow.
That's the whole action of the movie. That's what pulls Supergirl out of her drunken, lonely stupor into action. But man, I had a good time. I mean, I was able to walk into the movie, put all that kind of noise aside, all of the production disasters, all of the bad PR press, and just sit down and take the movie for what it was. And I had a good time. I enjoyed it quite a bit, especially as somebody who doesn't really have an affinity for these Superman type characters of DC. I had a really good time with Supergirl. I really liked Millie Alcott's portrayal of her. And it is one that it's worth your time. Maybe now, since you're not giving your money to the movie studio or you're not having to give it to the theaters, although I always recommend, theater viewings are always the best.
They are.
But if you had some vendetta where you're like, I don't want to give my money to blah, 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 and it comes up on streaming, check it out. If John Wick in space with superpowers sounds fun to you, you're going to have a good time with Supergirl.
Yeah, I am interested, though, because this year has been a lot of John Wick-esque movies. And it's interesting because it's in different ways. It's not just because of the themes, but also it's, for example, we'll talk about it. I mean, if you look at Ready or Not 2 or They Will Kill You, it's these organized groups that are coming after one person, right? And Ready or Not 2, technically 2, but really only one. And then in Supergirl, it's that same style. And I don't think John Wick ever meant to do it for that. I mean, I think it's Chad Stahelski, I think is how you pronounce his name. Okay. But he was more of a stunt coordinator. He was a stuntman. He wanted to show off his ability to choreograph incredible fight scenes. And the unfortunate part of that is, while They Will Kill You definitely has some aspect of that, it's not prevalent in these other ones. Maybe in Supergirl, I haven't seen
Supergirl had a really cool final fight that also has been getting some flack, I think, because of the music or the song choice or the way the song was covered.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I remember really enjoying that scene. So like I said, there was really not much of Supergirl that I didn't enjoy. I thought it was a very fun time out at the theater. And I loved the way that final action sequence went, that final big fight, the music and the song that they chose to cover. I'd have to look it up now to tell you exactly what it is, but I remember in that moment, I really enjoyed it. And I think I got chills watching the scene. So it was effective for me.
Okay. Well, that's great to hear. All right. So now we're jumping into our rankings. Now for me, as you said, I did happen to catch quite a few more 2026 releases. So I'm going to be going down in my list, and if I have some that overlap with you on your rankings, feel free to save them. We'll get to them. But I'm going to start with my number 20, surprising to no one. That is Eli Roth's Ice Cream Man. It's a 0.5 star in Letterboxd. It's a bad movie. do not watch it. In fact, when the mystery movie was beginning, it shows Eli Roth. They usually do this. It's like, thank you so much for coming to our mystery screening. I'm Eli Roth. This is the Ice Cream Man. Come out. Tell everybody to come see this movie when it comes in the theaters on, Thursday, August 6th and Friday, August 7th. I will be telling no one to do that. I'll be telling everyone to go to the theaters and watch any other movie. Please. Any other movie. Yeah. So, okay. So number 19, one that was hailed as the scariest movie of the year, of all time, of the last 30 years. Undertone, which is a fine, if not slightly bad movie. Camera work is good. Sound design good. Story, this is a boring movie with so much potential. And as somebody who has not done a podcast for a very long time, there were clear and obvious podcast woes in that movie. Number one, you have a list of 10 recordings and each one's about 3 minutes long, and you're going to save each recording as though people are going to come back after one 5-minute clip. Maybe, but I think it would be best to just throw them all out in that one video. But I digress.
In that movie's defense, they did show like the first 5, and then they went to the next episode with the last 2. I think they just recorded it really choppy. It was strange, but
yeah, I just feel like, yeah, and it's not horrible, and that's not my biggest complaint with the film. My biggest complaint is the story, what the story does. But that was just something that I was like, man, you have access to that, and that's what you're going to do. Anyway, I digress. Number 18. Number 17. This one hurts a lot. Like, more than you can imagine something hurting. And that is my GOAT, Scream. The 7th installment in the franchise is my number 17. The more I think about Scream 7, the more saddened I become. And this is as a Scream 3 defender. I think Scream 3 is the 3rd best Scream in the franchise. Or 4th best, somewhere in that realm. I love Scream 3. And Scream 7, I hope it ages better with time. But as of right now, number 17. Number 16, the Everything movie. That is They Will Kill You. It's a good time. It's fun. It's violent. It's Zazie Beetz doing her thing. It's a talking pighead. What else do you need? A lot. You need a lot more. But it's a fine movie. All right. Moving forward from here, I would say these are movies that are decent. Decent to good, the rest of the movies. I wouldn't say I've watched any of the ones that are like bad. But number 15 is Sam Raimi, his Rachel McAdams, Dylan O'Brien combo, Send Help. Rachel McAdams, who is a huge Survivor fan, much like myself, it's not a guilty pleasure. I do enjoy it, and I'm not going to feel guilt about it. But as I was watching it, I was immediately hooked when I saw that she was a fan, and I was like, wow, this is really interesting that Sam Raimi would go this way. I mean, it's nothing but groundwork. It's just foreshadowing because of the movie's inherent nature. But it's a good time. It's fun. I wish I'd seen it in theaters. I think I would have had a better time. But it's decent. It's not... Yeah. My number 14. This one's going to hurt. That is Brand New Day. My number 14 is Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Really?
We'll talk about it more.
Okay.
We're also going to finish this episode, obviously, with a Spider-Man ranking. And it might not be as low as you think on that. But my number 14 is Brand New Day. We'll talk about it more at length in our discussion of our movies that we both would like to talk about.
Okay.
My number 13 is the sequel to 28 Years Later. That is 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. I thought my review was kind of funny, even though it's midnight, like 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, not quite my temple. I thought that was a funny whiplash, not quite my tempo comment, but it didn't get as many likes as I would have liked for it to. but that's okay.
But
It's
you're not
still, it
fishing,
is.
right?
Oh, of course not. Of course not. But yeah, I won't talk much about this with you later because it's not one that you saw and not one that I loved. But Nia DaCosta is a competent director, but this movie just kind of lacks. The first hour, really good. The rest of it, yeah. I really wanted to like it more than I did. There's some weird, interesting moments in this movie, but yeah. Anyway, that's my number 13, The Bone Temple. My number 12, one of the outliers that I mentioned, is Over Your Dead Body. That is the Jason Segel, Samara Weaving husband trying to kill wife, wife trying to kill husband to get away. It's the perfect setup for a joke, and it's a good time. It's nothing special. It's a little bit convoluted. It's a little bit over the top, but when it gets to the over the top parts at the very end of the movie, that's when it settles in. You're like, okay, I kind of wish this had been here a little bit before, but that's okay. I'll take it now that it's here. And so it's a funny time, and I would definitely recommend watching it, and when you can find it on streaming. All right, my number 11, one that we'll probably talk at least a little bit about, is The Sheep Detectives. The Sheep Detectives is possibly the heartwarming surprise of the year, with a outstanding voice cast and very, very British humor that really pays off in just about every which way. I will say I did not cry. I was choked up by a comment. We'll just say the name George. That choked me up. But it didn't make me sob or anything. But it was just a good, easy time. One, I can't wait to show my kid when he's like 4 or 5 years old. I think he'll have a great time with it. And possibly the best joke of the year, the man, the butcher, counting sheep, who falls asleep. Perfect British humor. That is such a good joke. When he 1, 2, 3, cut back, 18, 19. I was like, that is such a dumb joke, but I love it so much. So it worked really well in its favor. So that is my 20 through 11.
Well, my number 11
Yep.
is the only movie I've watched this year that I would say this is a bad movie. No, the only movie I've watched from 2026 that I would say is a bad movie. Let me correct that. It's Undertone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my review for this movie, underwhelming. Yeah, it was
great review.
It was with the lowercase u to match the title of the movie.
Naturally.
Yeah. No, it was dull. I mean, it was boring. And then the last 20-ish minutes got somewhat interesting. And I'm not going to lie to you, I remember the chant because they've said the chant 50 times, and that part freaks me out a little bit. I'm like, I don't really want to remember that part of the movie.
Fair enough.
There's a little bit of that I'm like, I kind of knew that getting in. Didn't know it was going to be so much of that. Might be the last of its type that I watch for a while. I don't tend to watch those horror movies interest anyways. But after I saw you caught it, and it was one that I was mildly interested in, and it is about a podcast, I was still curious enough to watch it. It's dull. I mean, it's like you said. It's absolutely... And it had potential to be really interesting. And it had a lot of setups to be really something kind of cool. This is the spoiler warning of the episode. We will be spoiling some of these movies more than others, especially when we talk about Brand New Day. So listen to the Brand New Day discussion when we talk about that, because we will be spoiling Brand New Day. Anyways, yeah, with the main lead, coming up pregnant, and this being this demonic entity that kills babies or possesses people to kill their children or whatever. It was very interesting. But the execution was so dull.
It was very dull.
Having the idea of just having the one actress in one place throughout the whole movie, and everybody else was just a voice, even if they were actually present. Interesting ideas, poor execution, dull movie.
Sort of turns into a gimmick.
Yeah.
Not entirely, I wouldn't say. In fact, I think that there is somewhere in this film a really scary movie.
I agree.
I think there's a really scary movie. I think the recordings needed to be scarier. I think because the thing is whenever you're going to lead with this gimmick for an hour and 10 minutes of the movie, in the last 10 minutes of the movie, you're going to start showing all these horrific things.
Mm-hmm.
You lose that flavor,
Yeah.
and it makes it feel like it's just kind of a cop out, where you couldn't finish the job. Bless you. But yeah, I feel like for me that is something that I can't get behind.
Yeah.
When you are laying out the groundwork for this, and this is what you end up ending it with. It's a shame because it was one that I was highly anticipating.
Yeah,
and
I was too. I was
for an hour and a half, hour 20 minutes. There is no reason whatsoever this should not have my attention the entire time. It'd probably be a great short film. It'd probably be a great 15-minute short film.
15, 20 minutes maximum is all you need of this film. But it was just so dull. The story felt like maybe it was a one draft and then go to shoot. And this was an A24 film too, which is another just really bizarre. Because even their most bizarre films, usually they grab you or they keep you, and this one it was just dull.
It doesn't.
It's underwhelming. Don't waste your hour and a half. Go watch something else.
I agree. Go make a movie instead.
There you go.
You could. Now, I do want to say, in Undertone's defense, it is competently shot. It looks good. It is a well-shot movie. It is a good sound design. That is it. The acting is all right. The script is not great. And I don't want to be the person, but I just never want to be afraid. Like, I want my work, whenever I finally get it out there, to be criticized as heavily as I'll criticize anyone else's. Because that's the honest work. And I hope that the people who made Undertone come back with another movie and they step up their game in every which way. Keep your competent style, directing and cinematography, and execute on those other levels at a much higher level. Yeah. So those are our just outside of our top 10. So before we jump into our top 10, we're going to go ahead and segue and talk a little bit about the TV shows we've watched this year, maybe reboots, new seasons, new TV shows that have come out this year, and also our movies we hope to catch before the end of our year. Spoiler alert, there's a lot, and we probably won't catch them all, but we're going to try.
It's not Pokemon.
Unfortunately, it's not. We have that same ambition, but I don't believe that it's going to end that way. But with that being said, I'll go ahead and I'll start with one of the TV shows that I watched this year, one that I didn't really even know was coming out until a week before it came out. This was the Scrubs reboot. I'm a huge fan of Scrubs seasons 1 through 8. That needs to be understood. If you've watched Scrubs, you know what I'm talking about. We don't talk about season 9. But the reboot of Scrubs, I was blown away by the way they were able to capture the magic of seasons 1 through 8. This 10-episode run, I believe it was 10 episodes, had those moments of heartfelt sincerity that get you to choke up after a stupid JD joke. You have the JD and Turk, which I don't know if you're a fan of Scrubs or if you've ever watched Scrubs.
I've never caught Scrubs.
Would highly recommend Scrubs. Has one of your favorite characters from How I Met Your Mother. She's not really your favorite. But Stella, Sarah Chalke, is one of the leads in Scrubs. And it just is baffling how well they were able to pick up in the present time of each of these characters' lives. And while I am behind them in time, I'm not quite their age, there's something very harrowing about watching it, where it's played for jokes, but it's also very serious. Where now they're older, they have back problems, or they have kids, and they can't get the sleep that they need, or they have health problems, or they have marital problems. And they're handled just wonderfully. I cannot wait. I hope they have 8 more seasons. 7. We'll say 7. We know what they do when they get ambitious and go for 9. But I hope that they have a number of seasons more with this same energy, these same jokes, the same heart, the same comedy. And it ended with one of the best cameos from one of the best characters in the original season, the janitor. And yeah, what a great time. If you haven't watched Scrubs, you should watch the original first 8 seasons and then watch the reboot Scrubs in 2026. It was a fantastic reboot.
Okay. Duly noted. Have to add that to the ever growing list of TV shows that we're trying to narrow down that keeps getting longer.
Absolutely. It's an easy show to watch at lunch for
Okay.
sure because it's a 20-minute, 22-minute sitcom style episode. It's not, it doesn't have a laughing track or anything like that, but it's that style, very quick. You get through the first couple episodes, they're going to feel really cheesy, really corny. But once you get into the vibe of the show, you'll be glad you did.
I will have to take your word for it. All right. So the first TV show that I want to share is going to seem off for a person of my look and sex and age, but we're going to go with it. And that is Off Campus. So if you don't know what Off Campus is, it is based off of the first book in a series of hockey-type romance novels written by Ella. I'll let you look that up for me, Brady. It's Ella something.
Yeah.
But anyways, it follows the first season of Off Campus follows largely the first book, The Deal. This is a story of Hannah, who is your typical kind of overachieving, very talented, very studious type student. She's there at doing classical music. She's there studying classical music. And she shares a class with Grant, who is Graham. Sorry, Graham, not Grant. Who is your very...
You're about to get beheaded for that one.
Your very typical star-studded athlete. He is the hockey team captain. He is the star of the performance. His dad is a hockey legend, although you come to find out he's really not a great person. Garrett Graham does not have a great relationship with his dad, but over a course of a deal, Hannah and Garrett end up coming together to fake a romance that becomes a real romance, and you get to see all of the struggles and challenges of a romance for 20-somethings in college, with the history that comes from their high school days or their childhood or their family and how all that is walked through. And I will just say, I swooned for Hannah and Garrett like a middle-aged woman. I mean, I absolutely just fell in love with them. And not just them. All of these side characters in this film. Allie, who plays Hannah's best friend and roommate, is a bombshell to watch. She brings chaos and fun and energy everywhere she goes. The other boys that are on Graham's team, the way that they interact. And I'll say this about this show. This show has some of the best written and best portrayed male characters that I have seen in years from a film or a TV perspective. I mean, the way that Garrett and his teammates are portrayed as men is so good. None of them are played for fools. None of them are played for perfect. I mean, depending on what your definition of perfect is, depending on your standard of morality, all those things, of course, would come into this discussion of play. But every one of the men that we see on this hockey team, they're good men. They're not perfect men. They make mistakes. They fight each other. They do stupid things. They lose their temper. They maybe sleep around too much, whatever you want to put. But these are good, decent men. And it really blew my mind and also kind of maybe touched my heart, left an emotional impact on me how these men were portrayed in this show. Because we're so used to seeing the Homer Simpsons, the Peter Griffins, the American Dads. Like, those are the men we're used to on our TV shows. And we're okay with it, and most of it is fine and it's fun and it's whatever. But the emotional depth that we had with Garrett Graham and with his mates, and then that we also got from Hannah and from Allie because of it, with the men that they were surrounded with. I could go on and on and on about this show, except to say, just watch this. I watched it because I saw a couple reels of it on Facebook come up, and I was like, you know what? I'm curious enough. It's a 45-minute show. I'll watch it during my lunch break. I blew through this show. I loved it. I teared up several times throughout this show. The finale is beautiful. I mean, the relationship between Hannah and Graham is one to aspire to as a young person who's in a dating relationship, which I'm not. I'm past that stage, thankfully. But for those who are in a dating relationship or who are working through their first years of college, this show is so good. I mean, it's 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, no notes. I want to find the book. I've got the book in my Amazon cart because I want to read it. I can't wait for the next season to follow the next set of characters in the book. It looks like it's going to follow Allie, which I'm really excited to get to see. And yeah, I'm done swooning. That's enough. But needless to say, if you've not seen Off Campus, there's a little bit of it, something in there for everybody. There's the romance, of course. It's a romance show. There's music. There's sports. There's a little bit of that old saying, I went to a fight and a hockey game broke out. You get a nice couple good hockey game fights in this show. So there really is something for a little bit of everybody to watch. And I think the characters were perfect. I think the story is perfect. I think it's moving in a way that the next show that I'll talk about here in a minute was absolutely not. It's a 10 out of 10. It's no notes. Go check it out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew you had talked about watching that, and I had heard about it because one, I mean, if you go on Prime, it was the first show on there for a while.
Yeah.
But there were so many people, and like you said, that don't look like you that are in our lives, and all these girls were telling us about the show that they watched and that they really liked. And so when you told me you'd watched it, I was like, well, okay. And you want to talk about it too? Oh, okay. I mean, some things we keep close to the chest, but cards out on the table. So, but no, thank you for sharing. I'm glad that you were able to appreciate the show for what it was. And I'm sure it is. I mean, it's not doing as well as it is only because it appeals to one specific audience. It's doing as well as it is because has a mass appeal.
Right.
So the next thing I'm going to talk about is that I watched is Malcolm in the Middle, Life's Still Unfair. Now, Malcolm in the Middle is a show I grew up on. I caught it on TV when I was probably too young to watch Malcolm in the Middle, even though it's not raunchy or like off color. It's still network television, but there are comments and things, and the boys are, doing things they probably shouldn't be doing. But as a child, this was probably my favorite show of all time. That's not a cartoon. That is real people. And so when I heard about the reboot, I was really excited about it because I've really enjoyed watching Frankie Muniz kind of like go into his different bags of being a race. Like he drives for NASCAR. Like he's a very like famous race car driver now. And that's just like crazy to see. Very unfortunate to hear about him and his wife after 10 years are splitting up. That was a very sad thing to hear, but he's also a proclaimed Christian as well, which is even tougher to swallow, but that's beside the point. That's real people. That's not the show. And the show is only 4 episodes. Underwhelmed is not quite the word because there's a lot of things about this reboot that I really, really liked. But there's a lot of directions that it goes that I was a little bit baffled by. I'm not necessarily against you taking these characters and giving them a different sexual orientation than maybe they seem to have in the original show. But it's just very interesting to see how these characters have all grown up, how you can tell there's maybe a little bit way more progressive writing. And where Malcolm in the Middle was always a pretty progressive show for a family for a white family with all boys. Like this was still a like fairly progressive show, the way they handled all of their characters and the way they handled subject matter. But it just felt like it didn't seem to hold true to the formula that made Malcolm in the Middle so great in the first place. Now, it's still a fun time. The 4 episodes I highly recommend watching. It's still very enjoyable, but it's not as great as I would hope it to be. But still a good time. All the characters, like, they never left. Even the person filling in for Dewey, he's mostly over FaceTime. Eric Persullivan was a character in the show who decided he didn't want to act anymore. So he was offered the role, probably buckets of money, but he turned it down because he said he retired. And that was the last time he was ever going to act. So he did not come back into acting. So kudos to him. He knew what he needed to do. But everybody does a good job. Hal, Bryan Cranston is the clear standout. I mean, Bryan Cranston is a gem. We don't deserve him. But it was a good time. 4 episodes. I want to say they're only 20 to 30 minutes per episode too, so it's a very quick watch. But yeah, the next one I'm going to bring up is a show that someone will be talking about very soon, Sadie Sink. She said it was her favorite show of the year so far, or her favorite thing she's watched here as of recent. And it's my second favorite thing that I watched as of recent. This wasn't a ranking, but this one is very high up there, and that's Widow's Bay. Widow's Bay is on Apple TV. It is a horror comedy. It is incredible how it is able to balance the humor with the horror in every sequence. It's also a show that it's not supposed to be like super heartwarming, and it's not, but it's also not raunchy. It's not vulgar. In fact, if you can handle semi-scary scenes, and there are a couple, it can get violent at times, but it's not really even over the top in that way. But there's one character in there, Patricia. She is remarkable. The star of the show. Looks like Alison Brie a little bit, which is very interesting. But the character is more homely, not the person. But the character is a more like kind of secluded, isolated, weird, eccentric character who brings such a great balance to the show. Widow's Bay, highly recommend. Hamish Linklater from Midnight Mass. He is one of the characters, I won't say who, in the show that does a fantastic job in the time that he's on screen. Matthew Rhys is the lead. He does a terrific job. It is a great show. Stephen Root, who is from Barry, he's from Office Space, he's from King of the Hill, he's from a ton of stuff. He does a great job as the co-lead in Widow's Bay. And it is such a funny, scary show. It is equally funny as it is scary. So there will be a moment where you're still terrified and they'll throw in a joke. And you laugh and you're like, should I be laughing? Is this even allowed? Because I'm still pretty terrified from the scene I just watched. But yeah, such a good time. It is such a fun show.
Okay, well, you know my affinity for Sadie Sink, so based on that and based on your recommendation, I'm going to have to check that out when I get my free Apple trial here in hopefully a couple of weeks. So the next show I want to talk about is not going to help my case, Brady, as you eloquently stated there at the end when you transitioned into your next 2 shows. But I watched this one because after I finished Off Campus, Amazon said, you may also like Every Year After.
Okay.
Amazon, I did not like Every Year After. In fact, Every Year After was the complete opposite of everything Off Campus did well. The 2 male leads were both jerks. They made the female lead feel bad for something that wasn't the right thing to do. Probably not, but it was 15 years ago. They were still kids, and to be honest, it really wasn't all her fault. Like the big reveal of, this horrible thing she did that offended this boy that she loved her whole life, and now he can't forgive her for it. Oh, and now she hadn't been back to the town in 15 years. Oh, this was stupid. Can you tell that I have strong feelings for both of these shows?
Yeah, polar opposites of the spectrum.
No. Every Year After takes everything of the young adult cliche story building stuff, and they just dumb it down as much as possible. The acting's pretty good. One or two characters are actually pleasant to enjoy on screen, but the two male leads in this show are insufferable. They're terrible. They're horrible people. They're jerks, and they're just everything that Off Campus did so well. Every Year After did so incredibly poorly. So if you watch Off Campus and they say you might also like Every Year After, just go ahead and hit that skip button. You don't need it.
Sounds good. Okay. I'm sure all the females in our audience that watch our podcast will duly note that. So, but yeah, so the last one I'm going to talk about is a miniseries that came on HBO Max that I was on the fence about, but the more I think about this show, this miniseries, the more I really think it's such a good show for as weird as it is. This is Jason Bateman, David Harbour, Linda Cardellini, and that is DTF St. Louis. Now, I live near the St. Louis area, so that already piqued my interest when I saw Jason Bateman, DTF St. Louis. I was like, oh, okay, this could be interesting. And I was like, okay, it seems like humor comedy, maybe borderline sex comedy, but I can't really tell if it becomes. And I just knew the cast, and I was like, I just don't think so. Do you know what I'm saying? You're like watching, you're like, yeah. I don't think that this is the direction we're going. Now there are definitely some elements of that. There is definitely an underline of sexual fluidity. But this show is about brotherhood. This show is about male friendship. And it is beautiful. I'm literally getting teary-eyed thinking about it. This is it is the first episode, not a spoiler, the first episode begins in the death of David Harbour's character. Now, David Harbour, you see through the story of who killed him. How did he die? And the whole show, Richard Jenkins is also in this, and Richard Jenkins is a treasure. He is this older guy who's learning about all of these younger people's, we'll say, kinks and preferences. And one of the characters asks him, his partner, and he is just like, he can't even. Peter Sarsgaard is also another character in it, but Richard Jenkins, he's talking to him, and he can't even fathom what he's hearing. In fact, he hears a phrase. It is a long phrase, and the only thing he can write down is one 3-letter word, because that's the only thing he can manage to even recall or even want to look at writing down. And he does this twice in the show, not in the same episode, very spaced out. Great callback, great jokes. Everybody's so good in the show. Everybody. David Harbour is unbelievable. As much as you might like him as Officer Hopper and Sheriff Hopper in Stranger Things, what he's able to do in this show, it might not be as iconic, but the acting performance reminds you why he's an actor. I mean, it is a Juilliard level. So, highly recommend DTF St. Louis, especially if you're looking for possibly the best show on male friendship I've ever seen.
So, I remembered, as we were talking, I actually had one more show that came out in 2026 that I caught up with. And I caught up with this back in April, which is possibly why I forgot about it. But that was the Netflix original miniseries produced by the Duffer Brothers. Something very bad is going to happen. This is a show that, as I've thought about it more, and I say as I've thought about it after having just forgot it, but the more time I've spent kind of away from it, especially those several days after, or a couple of weeks after, it became better than it felt like it was as you're watching it. So if you don't know, without kind of going into spoilers for this show, this is a kind of horror drama show. It's about a woman who is fixing to get married, and she just has, throughout the whole show, she has this bad feeling. She has this feeling that something bad is about to happen, and she can't really explain why. So she's gone up with her fiance to this property, this secluded property that his family owns, beautiful property in the snow. It's kind of like a log cabin, but it's a log cabin to the nth degree, where it's got
Okay.
this beautiful wraparound like hallway, but the center of the hallway, the center of this wraparound circle, is exposed to the outside, and there's a garden. So like the snow falls, and you can see it through this glass window that encapsulates the outside and the hallway. I mean, it's this gorgeous home, absolutely beautiful. But from the show starts with they're driving up to this family home, and she immediately has these bad feelings, and these weird things happen, these bizarre things happen, these kind of gross things happen, as she's going there. And then as the show progresses, you see that the bad feeling that she was having was actually based on something that actually was based in her family's past. That's all I'm going to say there. But
makes sense.
Yeah, this is not a good year to get married, based on something very bad is going to happen, and another film that we will talk about later in this episode. But this was a really fun show. It's not one that's super scary. It's not one that's crazy suspenseful, although it does have more suspenseful moments. It has more dramatic type moments. It's very much more a drama with elements of horror and suspense. It's got a couple moments that are kind of gross, but it's not really what I would classify as body horror. It's just like, ooh, that's a gross image kind of ordeal. So if that's something that you like, this is a show that's worth checking out. I believe it's only like 8 episodes. You could go through it in a week, 2 weeks if you wanted to space it out. If you haven't seen something very bad is going to happen, it's worth your time. It's a very beautifully done show. It's very competently acted. The actors are all great. The family dynamics that you see in this family, that's really where this show shines. It's in the family dramas. It's in the stories that they tell. It's in the relationships that this family has grown to, the extended relationships, the children who now have spouses, who now have children of their own, and how all of that comes together and circles around this upcoming wedding. I believe it's the week before the wedding that this show kind of walks through. So you add all that on top of the family drama, on top of this really bad feeling that the bride-to-be is having. And you get what's a pretty entertaining show.
Okay.
It's definitely worth your time to check out for an 8-episode miniseries.
Okay. All right. Duly noted. Okay. So now, before we jump back into our rankings, we both have a list. It might be extensive, so we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about each one of these, mainly because we don't have a lot to say about each one of these because we haven't seen them. But these are movies we hope to catch by the end of the year that we can talk about at our end of year recap. And so, Nolan, why don't you say the first 5 that are on your list, and then I'll follow. And we'll just go until we run it.
Okay. Sounds great. Yeah, in no particular order, just going down alphabetically, these films. The first one on the list is Avengers Doomsday. It's the big Marvel movie of the year. After Brand New Day, there were 2. This is the big one. They're bringing back RDJ as Doctor Doom. They're bringing in all the characters from all the universes. The Fantastic Four are going to be in. The X-Men are going to be in. The new Avengers are going to be in. And we're going to get a Doctor Doom that is worthy of the name Doom. So, Avengers Doomsday, coming out this December. Can't wait. Really excited. The MCU seems to be on an upward trajectory, at least in my opinion. So I'm hoping that Doomsday just continues that trajectory. The next one is Backrooms. I really wanted to get Backrooms in before this episode. It's not in theaters. I'm not paying $20 to rent it on Prime.
No.
When it comes to the DVD, when it comes to the library, this is one that I'm going to be seeing as soon as it's available. I'm super excited for this film. The Bride. I know Maggie Gyllenhaal's movie is one that's got a lot of hate. It's got a lot of pushback. It's one that my wife watches the trailer and she's like, that is going to be a bad feminist movie. Like bad feminism, not like good honors men feminism. Like this is going to be really rah, 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 hate men feminism. I'm not interested. I'm like, you're probably right, but Jesse Buckley. So I'm interested. It looks
Christian
really good.
Bale.
And Christian Bale. At least for that alone, I'm interested to see what happens. I don't think I'm going to love it, but I'm curious enough. Next one on my list, Coyote versus Acme. This one comes out in a couple weeks. It looks really fun. That's all I know about it. And then the last one of the first 5 I'm going to give you is Disclosure Day. It's Steven Spielberg's big return to form, but not really, because it's not actually an alien invasion movie from what I've heard. But for me, Spielberg's okay. I want to see it for Emily Blunt. That's my big pull for this movie. So those are my first 5 that I'm hoping to catch to be able to revisit by the end of the year.
Okay. All right. Mine is not in any kind of order at all. Not even alphabetical, just in when I was writing down movies that I'm hopeful to catch before the end of the year. Is just how they came out. So the first one I have is Fjord by Christian Meningu, who is the now Palme d'Or. He might have won another time, but Palme d'Or winner for his film that came out at Cannes. It's one that I've seen Graduation from him. I didn't love it, but I'm still interested in his other work. And Fjord was one that was at the top of my list. Next is, from what I hear, Olivia Wilde's Bounce Back from Don't Worry, Darling, which I really, really wanted to like because Florence Pugh is an incredible actress, and Olivia Wilde with Booksmart. I had a good time with Booksmart, so I thought surely it'll be good. We all know how that turned out, but I've heard The Invite is really something special, with a very tight 4-person cast in a very tight one location. So I'm very, very interested to see The Invite. Next on my list is possibly the most anticipated movie of the 2020s, and that is Dune Part 3. I mean, if you watch the trailer, the cinematography alone, the color grading alone, truly remarkable. Hans Zimmer back with another probably incredible Dune score. We are getting fed with film scores this year, by the way, with Ludwig Göransson and Hans Zimmer alone. Right, not to mention Michael Giacchino just did the Brand New Day score, but it's like we have composers out the wazoo for this year doing scores, and Dune Part 3, I cannot wait to watch. Super excited. Another one that I'm really excited to catch, mainly because he made one of my favorite films of last year, that is Zach Cregger's Resident Evil. I am a huge fan of the Resident Evil games. I don't know if I'll ever watch the Paul W.S. Anderson Resident Evils with Mila Jovovich. Nothing against her. Definitely against Paul W.S. Anderson. He doesn't deserve the name Paul Anderson. Okay. But that might be a hot take. I really don't know, but I think that I just have zero desire to watch it. So this one I'm very, very interested in seeing. The other one is one you mentioned, but I'm not as optimistic about it as you are, and that is Avengers Doomsday. I am cautiously hopeful. I just don't know how they're going to pull it off. And I stand firm by the idea that had you kept Robert Downey Jr. under wraps and revealed in the film that he's Doctor Doom, not even that he was going to be in the film like they did Sadie Sink in Brand New Day and they kept her character under wraps. I mean, keep out of the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be in the movie at all. I think that would have fed generations. But that's okay. Now we know. But I'm still cautiously optimistic. I will also mention, too, this is more than 5, but I have Disclosure Day on my list as well.
Yeah, fair enough. So my next one is Dune Part 3. I never knew the Dune. I hadn't seen the original Dune from '84. I didn't know anything about the Dune books. I knew they existed. I'd never read them. My first exposure to the world of Dune was Denis' original film. I thought it was great. Part 2 took everything and made it even better. Maybe one of the best sci-fi films of the 2020s. Depends on how much of that good spice you've been sniffing. So yeah, Dune Part 3. At this point, I will see anything that Denis puts out. I love him as a filmmaker. I think he works with some of the best cinematographers. I think he's one of the best directors. I think he is the best director we have working today. So I'm super excited to see how he closes Paul Atreides' story. My wife is not. She is pissed at Paul. She hates him. I'm trying to help her to realize you haven't seen the end of the story yet, and maybe things change around. Maybe his hate is deserved. To do Zendaya like that is just dirty. So yeah, Dune Part 3, super excited for it. Next one, I know this is on your list, The End of Oak Street.
Yes,
This movie
looks
incredibly fun. I mean, that's really all there is to it. It's dinosaurs. That's all I need to know. It's dinosaurs and Anne Hathaway. And Ewan McGregor.
Yep.
I'm sold. Got it. So the next one on my list that I may or may not end up catching by the end of the year. I wanted to kind of catch it before this episode, but then once it came out, there were subpar reviews, and I was like, maybe we're going to wait and just let this one play out, see what people say, is Her Private Hell.
Yeah, that's on my list too.
Yeah, and it's one that it looks like it's going to be a beautifully neon-soaked type of movie. A little bit of a thriller, a little bit of a horror, a little bit of a murder mystery. The pull here for me is Sophie Thatcher. I think she's a great up-and-coming scream queen. But this one's still I'm on the fence of. I may see it, I may not by the end of the year. And then the last two I'm going to mention, of course, there's some sequel movies coming out that my wife is interested in, ones that I'm interested in, that kind of thing. But the other two that I want to actually take time to mention, I know one of these is on your list, but one of them is Lucky, the show on Apple TV, starring Anya Taylor-Joy, that is still coming out once all of those episodes come out. Definitely going to be getting that free subscription. Check that show out. Looks really entertaining. Big fan of Taylor-Joy. And then the last one, got to see this trailer at the theater watching The Odyssey, and that's Other Mommy.
Yeah, that's also on my list.
I'm going to be seeing this one by myself. I assume you will probably be seeing it by yourself, maybe with your brothers. But
yeah, not with my wife.
I'm beyond thrilled for this movie. It looks great. I
agree. 100%. Okay, so if that's the last of your list, I only have a few more. I really want to catch Greg Araki's I Want Your Sex with Olivia Wilde and Cooper Hoffman. I really love both of them as actors. I think they're tremendous actors. Cooper Hoffman especially. I think you can just tell he's Philip Seymour Hoffman's son in all the best ways. I also want to catch, even though I wasn't a big fan of their work, We're All Going to the World's Fair. That's Jane Schoenbrunn.
Mm-hmm.
I am interested in their work on Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma. I've heard that it just feels and looks like a movie. And that is something I'm excited for. And so with everything being glossy, everything like that in this day and age, I just love the idea of something feeling fresh and bright and vibrant and scary and just interesting. So very wanting to catch up with that. One I know is on your list for sure as well. And it's not certain that it'll come out this year, but that's Z.
Mm-hmm.
That's Kogonada's follow-up to A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, which worked for you, did not work for me. But we're both huge fans of Columbus, and we're both huge fans of After Yang. Yeah. And so another Kogonada script is more than enough for me to be excited. On top of that, the last few I have here is Mother Mary, David Lowery's latest effort with Anne Hathaway as the lead. She has just been everything this year.
She's been on fire this year.
She has another movie called Verity coming out later on. I'm so on it, but I'm interested still. Clayface.
Yeah.
Very interested in that DC horror. I think they're doing a great job making that a body horror film. Great direction. Wildwood is not much that I know about, but it's an animated stop motion film that obviously the same hands that brought you Coraline. I believe they brought you Box Trolls.
I saw that. I don't know anything about that movie, but I did see that that's coming.
I don't know much about it either, but that's enough to get me interested.
Yeah.
The last two that I have on my list is Werewolf, Robert Eggers. We'll just act like Nosferatu was never made, and we'll be happy for Werewolf.
You don't think you're going in for a Nosferatu Part 2 kind of scenario?
I think this feels much more in the vein of The Witch, and that I'm excited for, as that's the second best film, arguably his first best. And the last one I'll mention is Martin McDonagh the Banshees of Inisherin, Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, which, of course, not everybody's a big Three Billboards fan. I am. But I've not seen Seven Psychopaths or In Bruges, so I still need to catch up with those. But Banshees of Inisherin was I want to say, my favorite film of 2022.
It was very high.
Wild Horse 9 is very anticipated. John Malkovich, very interested to see what they've got cooking up in that one. So those are our anticipated films releases coming out this year that we're hoping to catch, that we can talk about maybe more in depth at the end of our year recap.
Yep, this is it. The moment that you've all been waiting this whole time for. The top 10 best releases, according to two guys on YouTube from 2026.
So far.
So far up to this little over the midpoint of the year. So again, I myself saw 11, so all but one of my films were in my top 10. That being said, all but one of these films I liked. I gave the like on Letterboxd. So I really enjoyed these films, and I would have no problem recommending these films to their prospective audiences. So my number 10 is the sequel, The Devil Wears Prada 2. You know, like I said, this is one that I didn't love the original film the first time I saw it years ago. I appreciated it more after coming and returning and watching it in preparation for the sequel. But the sequel, from beginning to end, I really enjoyed. You know, I had a great time. This was a strong 3-star movie for me at the end of it. Anne Hathaway's great. Meryl Streep is great. Stanley Tucci, Emily Blunt. The way that these characters grow is a beautiful natural progression. The way that they take the idea of a fashion magazine and they play with the modern world that we have with the technology and the blogs and everything being scrolling and instant on the internet, and the way that that presents challenges for Meryl Streep's character. It all just worked to create a really compelling sequel. All of these, I believe it was almost 20 years later. It worked really well. So my number 10 is The Devil Wears Prada 2.
Perfect. My number 2, one of the outliers, one that I was aware of, but I wasn't like, oh, I have to watch this. But my wife and I, by sheer coincidence, just watched, my wife for the first time, me for who knows what time, Avatar: The Last Airbender. We watched the original animated series. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, they had Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender, come out. And that's my number 10 on the year. And it is a fun movie. And it has a lot of good things going for it. The animation being the top of that list. The voice acting is decent. The story, predictable. Dave Bautista, pretty awesome. Loved hearing his voice in this. He was a great character, despite the twist being so evident. My wife called the twist from the trailer, if that tells you how obvious the twist is.
Yeah, and she's not a big movie person.
She's not, but she called the twist from the trailer. So, with that being said, it was a fun time. It's great. If you have Paramount, highly recommend. For anything but the best animation we've gotten since Across the Spider-Verse.
That's pretty high praise, especially for animation. All right, so my number 9 is one that you've talked about already. I guess it's somewhere in your top. No, it's not in your top 10. It's in your bottom half. But that's Sam Raimi's Send Help. This was a movie that I heard a lot about. I didn't catch it in theaters because I didn't really know anything about it. I knew it was Sam Raimi, and that was about it. But after it came out, I heard a lot from other YouTubers and movie collectors and movie talkers about this film. So when it came to streaming, I wanted to catch it. And it's a very enjoyable film. I mean, in a lot of ways, there are holes. The ending is not one that I found fully satisfying. I don't believe you did either.
No.
There is a scene in this movie that will make any man just cringe and squirm in his seat to a degree that is so...
If we have a scenes of the year discussion, I would not be surprised if that makes one of, not both of our lists.
It is definitely a contender.
That is a Raimi-ism to the nth degree, and I loved and hated every second of that scene. 100%.
Rachel McAdams is great in this movie.
Yes, she is.
Um,
And Dylan O'Brien.
yeah,
Dylan
and
O'Brien,
Dylan
is
O'Brien.
really good.
The acting in this movie is great. The visuals in this movie are great. The bad to worse decisions in this movie are great.
Yes.
At the end of the day, though, to me, this is maybe the best movie of the year to get a big tub of buttery popcorn for and just turn your brain off and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that's my number 9, Sam Raimi and Rachel McAdams, Send Help.
That makes sense. All right. My number 9 is the one I mentioned earlier with Baker Montgomery and Barbie Ferreira, I believe is how you pronounce her name, and that is Faces of Death. This is sort of alluding to an actual tape that came out in, I want to say, the 80s called Faces of Death, where it was the understanding that these videos are of people actually dying, people actually being killed, executed. And you couldn't tell if it was fake or not. And that's what this whole thing is about. I think it touches on a lot of very interesting themes, such as social media literacy, also how much are we watching, what are we taking in, what is good, what is bad. The very opening of the scene shows Barbie's career, her job is to decide what should be censored and what shouldn't be censored. Right? People are deciding what other people should get to watch. Right? And how that affects her mental, especially if she comes across a video of someone recreating Faces of Death. Man, this is a good movie. I was like on the fence about it. There's at the very end of it, the climax, there's some things that happen that you're like, that just would not happen. In fact, you know within your soul that's not how that would go. But everything up to that point is so interesting, so compelling. Really want to watch it again. Good to get a couple of buddies, get a big buttery tub of popcorn, watch with the lights off, and have a good time.
Great. Well, my number 8 is probably the most ridiculous movie of the year. And when I say ridiculous, I mean this movie absolutely should not have worked. And yet,
yes.
This is a 3-star movie for me. I know it was the same for you. It's your fault I watched this movie. Thank you very much. It's the
You're welcome.
Detectives.
Yep.
I had no... I mean, I couldn't believe, one, that you watched this movie. This is one that when it came up on Prime... Or no, we even saw trailers for this in the theaters.
Yeah, we did.
That
a while back.
So goofy. My wife and I, neither one of us really thought that it was one that... It wasn't one we for sure wanted to go to the theater for. But then it showed up on Prime, and it was one she was like, I'm just going to watch this without you. I know you're not going to love it. You're going to be too high and falutin and pretentious. She didn't use any of those words. That's me using those words.
That's just your... Yeah, of course.
But she was like, I'm going to watch it without you. And then you went and watched it. And I was like, well, crap. Now I have to watch it with you.
My wife and I watched it one night because I just wanted to watch a movie with my wife. And like you said, she's just not a big movie person, but she was interested in watching this. And I was like, you know what? I'm hearing a lot of interesting things. So let's not try. Why not try it?
It was ridiculous how, I mean, like you said, how moving this movie is. How just emotionally, the way that it touches on things. And I saw in the credits, it's based on a German novella or a German novel or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, of course it is. Of course. Only the Germans could be that dryly funny and that deeply sentimental and reflective all at the same time. It made perfect sense after that point. I was like, of course it is. I love German film. And this is why. So yeah, The Sheep Detectives is a murder mystery. So we're not going to talk a lot about it. The murder is pretty obvious. It happens very quickly. I think they show it in the trailer.
They do. Yeah.
They do. Okay, yeah, but we're still not going to worry about it. But it is, I mean, it's a flock of sheep helping the town police officer. He's not even really a detective.
Yeah, he's not. It's his first murder
case. And you get all the suspects, you get it brought together. It's kind of a movie that almost feels kind of indebted to Knives Out.
There are some times for sure. Especially there's a moment where they have a reading of the will that's very reminiscent of Knives Out. But
very much so.
But it still works, and in my opinion, better than any of the Knives Out sequels.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Well,
so
no, that's
I
not true.
you like Wake Up
I
Dead
like
Man
Wake
more,
Up Dead Man, but for
but
sure more than Glass Onion.
yes, 100%.
Yeah,
So,
no.
but
The
yeah,
Cheap Detectives was the most ridiculous movie probably that I'll see all year because it shouldn't have been as good as it was. And it was not only good, it was heartwarming. It was emotional. My wife got teary eyed. I don't because I have a heart of stone.
fair
But
enough.
I found this movie moving as well. So yeah, that's my number 8, and I can't believe I'm saying it, but it's The Sheep Detectives.
Perfect. My number 8 is nowhere in that realm, aside from maybe the detective aspect, but not really. More like, how do you say, like not an actual detective, sort of like a voluntary detective, and as Adam Scott in Hokum.
Mm.
Um, this was one that from the trailer I was very interested in. When you see this bunny mask
No.
in the trailer, and even though I did not love Caveat, and even though I did not love Oddity, I was still very intrigued by this one. I could tell the production quality skyrocketed. I could tell the scares looked very calculated. So I was my butt was in that seat before it was time. Now it was right around again. We saw it May 2nd, which was my wife's due date, and which I still think is just awesome. But yeah, Hokum is a good movie. I think the novelty wears off a little bit.
Mm.
It's highly indebted to The Shining, a haunted hotel. But there are a lot of things that it does well, including one moment where it feels almost like a video game walkthrough, where Adam Scott is needing to solve problems to figure out a way out of this room that he's found himself in. So very, very cool in that regard. There are very scary moments, and it's overall a very satisfying ending. Very satisfying ending. So Hokum, great project from Damien McCarthy. Excited to see what he does next.
Okay. Well, my number 7 is Scream 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
10 spots ahead of mine. Now, of course,
10
you didn't have the extra spots, but
right.
yeah.
And here's the deal. We saw Scream 7 once in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
I, like you, I'm a big Scream fan. I will overlook a lot of things to have Nev Campbell back as Sidney. Now, on a rewatch, will Scream 7 be as enjoyable? Will it still feel effective? Or will it feel like, yeah, all that was a sloppy mess of fan service and not very good? It may. But for me right now, Scream 7, while being the lowest of the franchise, I think, and it will probably remain the lowest of the franchise, it's still a 3-star movie for me. I still really enjoyed watching Scream 7, and I'm excited to watch it again. Also a little nervous, hoping that my love for it won't go way down. But I appreciated the things they did. I appreciated the fact that Stu was not actually Stu. If they had just brought him back in real life, I think that would have turned me off much more than the way the movie handles it with the AI. It does feel like Scream is still keeping up with the times instead of being forward thinking, as it was when Craven had the control of the franchise. But I also am no fool. I know we will never have the Craven magic again.
Yeah.
So I take the best
100%.
of what I can get, and what I got with Scream 7 was still a fun time. And it felt like a natural progression of Sydney's character. It was nice to see her with the family after all of the things that she'd been through. And maybe that was really what helped this movie so much for me, was seeing Sydney with a family. Was seeing Sydney got what she wanted. She had gotten that better life. She'd gotten that husband and those children and that daughter, but she's still having to fight for it. And I think Tatum is going to be a very interesting one to pass the mantle to, if they do in Scream 8 or Scream 9 or however many more they end up making. I think Tatum will be an interesting character to get to see grow and mature the way that Sydney did. So I'm a defender of Scream 7. I hope that upon a rewatch, I will still be a defender of Scream 7, and I hope and pray that this is a movie that ages well, and that comes to be at least enjoyed by Scream fans. Until then, I'll stand as one of its few and proud defenders.
Okay. Yeah, I could say a lot about Scream 7. I unfortunately just don't want to dive into the rabbit hole of what that movie represented in the first 15 minutes and what it turned into in the last 15. But
that's fair.
My number 7 moving forward is a project I'm much higher on, one that I have mentioned before. I enjoyed it. I am not the highest on it. I don't think it's the greatest sci-fi movie ever made. It's a great movie, and that's Project Hail Mary. Ryan Gosling is Ryan Gosling for a good amount of screen time, and I really like Ryan Gosling. But I just recently had watched Place Beyond the Pines and was reminded that Ryan Gosling really does have acting chops, and I wish he would have utilized them more in Project Hail Mary. And some people are going to say, "What are you talking about?" And I think that he has a couple good moments that are touching, but he just feels like Ryan Gosling, right? Even in Ken, even in Barbie as Ken, great acting performance. But I don't know, man. I just wasn't sold on the Ryan Gosling persona in Project Hail Mary. I think he did a fine job, but I just was not on it. Sandra Hüller, now she was incredible. Her Sign of the Times karaoke scene, incredible. Possibly in conversation for scene of the year. But anyway, Project Hail Mary, it's a 3.5. It's a good movie. Don't believe the hype. Don't go into it thinking this is the greatest sci-fi movie of all time. It just isn't. But it's a good one. And I'm glad that we have a good sci-fi movie.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I've been so hesitant to go in and pick it up. That, and also it's a 2.5 hour movie, so that's a lot of time to try to find to devote to something that is getting a lot of hype. That I'm like, I don't know that I'm gonna love this movie the way that everybody else seems to love it. So, anyways, it will be one that I catch by the end of the year. I think I actually left it off my list, but it will be one because of the status that this film has among moviegoers this year. So my next one, my number 6, I must just love defending bad movies. It's Supergirl. You know, and I've said a lot of what I'm going to say about Supergirl when we're talking about outliers. This was a fun movie. This was a good movie to go to the theater for. I thought Millie Alcott gave a very nice interpretation of Supergirl, where you've got Superman, who is the truth, justice, and the American way, always there to be the Boy Scout and do the right thing kind of hero. You've got Millie Alcott, Supergirl, who is not. You know, she's a loner. She's got nobody but Krypto. She's a drunk. She's irresponsible. She doesn't want to save anybody. She doesn't want to belong anywhere. And a lot of that, we get these very nice explanations of her past, from when she lived on Krypton, or not even on Krypton, but on this kind of community that was built out of Krypton. I don't even remember what they called it in the movie, but basically the sanctuary. And then when that sanctuary fell apart, she had to leave and come to Earth and all those kinds of things. But I really like Supergirl. Jason Momoa is having a great time in this movie. He's been the best part of a lot of okay to bad movies in the past couple years. I mean, he was the best part of the Minecraft movie, I thought. He's just really having the time of his life in Supergirl. He does a great Lobo. He's only in there a couple minutes, so you've got to have more than just Jason Momoa working for you. Otherwise, this movie won't work. But I had a great time. I thought it was a very enjoyable superhero movie. It's a low 4-star for me.
Okay. All right. My number 6 is another 3.5 that is a good time, really, really funny. Feels very British, but it's not. It's very American. And that is Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. And I talked about this in my Outliers conversation, so I won't spend a ton of time here. But I will say, if you're feeling like you need to watch the show or the web series to get joy and amusement out of this one, you don't need to. But it is a very interesting, arguably sci-fi tale, as there is quote-unquote time travel in this movie. Well, I'm not going to talk about it because there is a scene in this film that, when we have a discussion, will be arguably scene of the year. I won't say what it is because it is too fantastic to, if you've seen it, you probably know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it, I would not dare spoil what this scene does. It is truly something magical, and I cried laughing. My stomach hurt. I cried laughing. I thought this is the Snowman of the Naked Gun movie that came out last year. That is this scene of this year in Nirvana, the band that showed the movie. It's a very intelligent movie, and I believe it was maybe Sam Van Hallgren on Letterboxd, one of the film spotting producers. He had a review. I think it was him. It says they need to let Matt Johnson make anything he wants and give him no money to do it. And I think that is a very accurate way to describe Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, my number 5 is also, it's my final outlier discussion pick, so I won't spend a lot of time here. It's The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Wow. Okay.
This is a fun Star Wars movie. I mean, this is another one that, like Supergirl, again, bad movie that I'm defending. I had a really good time with it. As watching all the shows to get in the mindset of the Mandalorian character, I really appreciate the character. The things that Jon Favreau has done to build that character, the things that David Filoni did to build that character. It is the Star Wars movies that have come out since Rogue One, maybe I'll say, that made me feel like a kid who loved Star Wars again. So for that alone, I have a lot of great appreciation for The Mandalorian and Grogu. This one was done right. This was Star Wars done right by Disney, because this was Star Wars done by Star Wars fans.
Okay. All right. Well, my number 5 is the magic of Kane Parsons, and that is Backrooms, starring Renata Rinsby and Chiwetel Ejiofor. And this movie is patient, scary, ominous. 3 movies kind of bundled into one. You have found footage, you have sort of drama, and you also have, I won't say, because if you haven't seen it, I think that kind of removes it takes away the fun of this movie. Okay. And I won't say a lot about it because I know you haven't seen it. But Backrooms is a really, really good movie, and I'm tired of the people who are saying it isn't. And they wanted so many different things from this movie that it was never going to be. And Kane Parsons, being as young as he is very intelligent and stuck to his guns and made it the movie he wanted to make it. The script, he could have gotten a better script. There are some things that happen, especially towards the end. And I do think that even the dialogue is not the strongest, but Renata and Chiwetel are just really, really good actors and able to make dialogue that's not that great work really, really well. So there are going to be, of course, a lot of memes that come from this movie, and that's okay. But it's fantastic. Can't wait for you to watch it so we can discuss it.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. That's definitely one of the ones that have come out already that I am still most anticipating watching, for sure. All right, so my number 4, I know I'm getting into the films that we're going to actually spend some time with and discuss after we go through the rankings, so I'm just going to go through and give them. My number 4 is The Odyssey.
Okay.
I know. It's Christopher Nolan's magnum opus. It's the greatest movie of the summer. It was shot on full IMAX, and you can only see it in 43 theaters across the world. It's this grand epic. It's really good. It is very strong. I enjoyed it a lot, especially as someone who doesn't have a past with the story of the Odyssey. That being said, it's still my number 4, which is very strong, but it's my number 4.
That's okay. We'll talk more about it here soon. All right. My number 4 is the Ilnur Palmason The Love That Remains. And it's a really solid 4-star film. It is a dry deadpan comedy that has elements of surrealism that I think hurt it more than help it, and that's okay. He was trying something new, and more power to him. There's a scene with a ginormous rooster head. It's funny, but I just didn't fall for it like maybe I was hopeful to. You can definitely tell there are some cultural gaps here that I'm just not getting. It's very patient like Godland, very slow like Godland. Not nearly as slow as Godland, but in my opinion, Godland is one of the best films of the 2020s. One of the best films of the century, if I'm going to be honest. But The Love That Remains is still a great secondary film from him, and it also comes from I believe it's his third film total, third feature. I believe he has another one from years before. It's White something, I can't recall the rest of the title, but I think it's A White Day, I think is what it's called. But yeah, very good film. Highly recommend. And it's a story about divorce or separation, and it's supposed to be funny. I mean, it is, but also is it? I don't know, but I really do like this movie, and I can't wait to rewatch it because I own it, and I am 100% going to be watching this one again.
All right. Well, my number 3, again, jumping almost 10 spots from where you placed it, is the sensation that has taken over the past week at the box office, who has made over $1 billion at the point of this recording with less than a week out. It's Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Yeah.
And I am super excited for this discussion here coming up. So that's all I'm going to say. It's my number 3 of the year so far. It'll probably land in my top 10 by the end of the year. I don't think I'm getting knocked out.
Okay. My number 3 has fluctuated. It's gone up and down a little bit. And I feel very okay with this placement. And this is the other box office sensation, Obsession. Curry Barker's Obsession is my number 3 on the year. And we won't talk too in depth about it. I believe that bigger discussion is probably going to be Brand New Day. Because what else is there to say about Obsession? We do want to talk about it at least a little bit, but that is my number 3 on the year.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting because I'm trying to keep up with where you're at, and that means that my number 2 is either your number 2 or your number 1. And I've wrestled with this one a lot. I've probably thought about this movie equally as much as my number 1, if not more, in different ways since watching it. I was so glad I was able to catch this for this discussion because now we get to talk about it, and there is so much here to talk about. It's the drama. And this is either a top tier 4, possibly a 5-star film.
The drama is incredible.
I absolutely loved this film, and I'm super excited to get to talk with you about it. So I'm going to pass off to your number 2. What do you got?
What do you think?
Well, it's either the drama or it's something else. I can't remember what the something else would be at this point that you would have seen. So I'm just going to go with the safe bet. I'm going to go it's the drama.
It is not the drama.
Okay.
So it is the Odyssey.
That's the one that I'm missing.
Yeah.
Of course.
This is not a discredit to the Odyssey. We're going to talk about the Odyssey and why I will probably be one of the biggest defenders of this film for years to come. But so that leaves my number 1. You've already discussed it, and you can say your number 1 as well. I've already discussed it.
Yep.
Your number 1 is Obsession.
It is. Perfect.
And my number 1 has been skyrocketing through my rankings because there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about the best performance of the year, Zendaya in The Drama. The Drama is a spectacular film, and I won't hear otherwise, Josh and Adam. But this is an unbelievable movie, and I can't believe it's my number one of the year so far. Because when I first watched it, it was a 4-star film. It's a 4.5. I'm hesitant to give it the 5, but every day I think about it, I'm having a harder time finding a flaw in it. And I think The Drama is spectacular. You think Obsession is spectacular. I think Obsession is spectacular. But it's interesting because I initially thought Obsession was going to be the best movie of the year, and I thought The Drama was going to be a solid 5, 6, 7 placement. And the more I think about both of them, the more they kind of switch in the scales. And maybe by the end of the year, they'll switch back.
Maybe.
But as of right now, I think The Drama and Obsession, I think they're great places for us to start too. But
absolutely,
they're good relationship stories.
Yeah.
and
yeah,
entirely different.
Not a year for relationships. That is.
It really was not. But before we dive into that, let's talk The Odyssey.
Okay.
Let's give ourselves 3 to 4 minutes total to run through these movies.
Sounds great.
As much as we can, because otherwise we're going to be here all night. And we still have a pretty big ranking to do and a pretty big discussion at hand.
Yeah.
So
we do.
I'll start with The Odyssey, given it's my number 2 on the year. And it's your number 4. So we're not far off in that placement at all. In fact, the top 5, like around that area, aside from one that I have way lower,
right,
we're pretty much on the same page, right? Yeah. I just want to say, we're being fed this year. I do believe Christopher Nolan's best movie was made this year. And for my side of The Odyssey, this is what I'm going to say, and I'm going to run through this very quickly because I have been thinking about it for a long time. You do not go to a Christopher Nolan movie to watch for the dialogue. If you're going to a Christopher Nolan movie for dialogue, you are in the wrong theater. You're at the wrong. Now, that is not to say that justifies bad dialogue. I'm not saying the dialogue in The Odyssey is fantastic. I'm not going to remember the Odyssey for its dialogue. I'm going to remember the Odyssey for the Cyclops, for Circe, for the final freaking battle when he comes back. I'm going to remember for somehow, some way, Benny Safdie had crazy aura as Agamemnon and just turning his head.
Yeah.
All he did was turn his head and I got chills. I was like, what am I doing here? What is happening? Right? Christopher Nolan made an entire new rig. Now, some may say it's completely unnecessary, but he created a whole new process of how people film in IMAX with a mirror system and with a soundproofing box so they can lug around this IMAX camera, right? Hoyt van Hoytema does fantastic. I've heard people talk about the composition in this is very flat. I can name 10 shots off the top of my head that are not only not flat, but compelling, not only in their story context, but in their framing context. When Odysseus has returned and he's the homeless man, right? There's this scene where you see his walk after he's just talked with John Leguizamo's character. There's a scene where he's about to walk up, and it's the big reveal. It's the big moment. He's finally returned home. And it's this, he's come so far, and yet he's still only a few steps away, but it still seems like an entire journey all on its own. Well, we can talk about the scene where he's walking on the sands that are clearly referenced to Lawrence of Arabia, right? Beautiful, open location shots. The scene with the Trojan horse where they're charging on the sand, even at the very beginning, right? It's half in the sand, half out.
Yeah.
Beautiful composition, beautiful idea for framing. So, sorry. I just get really passionate about these things. I'm also really bothered by the people who sit there and say they couldn't really, like, the dialogue took them so long to get into. It just took them so long. Because they were expecting Greek poeticism when they went to go see Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. And so that to me is like, when I hear those comments, when I read those comments, I'm baffled by that discussion. by that understanding. And at the end of the day, this is Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey.
Yeah.
This is his Odyssey. He's taken the source material, he's adapted it to a story about survivor's guilt, to post-traumatic stress disorder, to making the gods humans, defying them. He's also made, quite possibly, in my opinion, out of the pictures and framings and other scenes I've seen with Cyclops, he's made the most empathetic Cyclops in the way he's designed it. And not only was it empathetic, it was also terrifying.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many things that Christopher Nolan does right in The Odyssey. And I'm always going to be a huge, huge defender of this film. Is it the 5 stars I initially thought it was when I first saw it? No. I really wanted it to be. But there are times where there is just too much exposition. And the more I thought about it, the more it frustrated me. But that's my biggest complaint about the movie.
Yeah, this was a great film. I mean, it's one that I went into, again, not having the history of the Odyssey, not really being... I mean, I knew the bits and pieces of the story. I knew about the Cyclops. I knew about the angering Poseidon. I knew about these bits and pieces. But really, I went into this fresh. And I came into this after watching Troy 2004, just a couple days before, which, just side note, it's a great film. And I won't hear any different at all about the film. It's as good as Braveheart. It's as good as Gladiator. It's just as important to the genre of what it means to be a man films. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because I'm moving back to the Odyssey. There are 3 scenes in this movie that were absolutely perfect. And that Nolan does, and it's what you said, right? This is Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. And I think he takes that story and he does it so well, and he does so much with it. Because it's this epic adventure home, but it is also the story of war. And the story of when is deception wrong? When am I too smart for the good of other man? That my gift, my cleverness has been used against man, and that was wrong. But it's also a drama. It's a family drama. It's about a boy who never knew his dad, but desperately longs for him. Tom Holland, right, goes on a journey, a mini odyssey of his own to try to find his dad. Which, this is just another kind of funny side note. Tom Holland, Spider-Man, meets up with the Punisher, who then mentors him in the Odyssey, only to later be mentored by him and helped by him in Brand New Day.
Very funny.
Note, kind of fun. Okay, so the scenes that just completely captured my mind. The first one was the pigs.
Yes.
And the way that, knowing Chris Nolan and how he does everything practically, the way that he did that scene, I can't even imagine how he did that. That was some of the most body horrific stuff in a non-horror movie I think I've ever seen.
Yep.
It was wonderful. I mean, it was completely captivating. It was disgustingly beautiful. I loved it. It was so cool. The second scene was when they were in hell. And Chris Nolan's interpretation of the underworld, where it was just flat, dirty, ash-ridden place. And the people, the ghosts were fleshly, but they were covered with dirt and ash. And that whole scene and that sequence, and where they told Odysseus, this is what's going to happen. I loved that scene. And then, of course, the pinnacle of this movie is when Odysseus shows up as the homeless man, and they're all bending the bow, and he gives that try, and they're like, let the old man do it. Let him try. Sure, why not? And he bends it, and he can't get it. So then Penelope, I believe, Anne Hathaway, she starts to walk away. It's not Odysseus like she hoped. And then what does he do? He pulls that string up, he hooks it on there, he pops that bow like he's done several times throughout the film in flashbacks, and you just got that bing. And right now, even talking about the scene, I've got chill bumps. That, to me, you want to talk about a moment of the year, that is like the bowstring heard around the world. It
Thick.
was shattering. It was.
I would argue there's 5 scenes in this film you could say are the best moment of the year.
Mhm.
That's the importance of the Odyssey. That's how good the Odyssey is. That's why you don't go to the Odyssey, because Christopher Nolan is this whiz with words. He didn't win his Oscar in Oppenheimer for his dialogue. He won his Oscars because he's just a really good director and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And we could spend so much time on the Odyssey, but we need to talk about the romantic movies of the year.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and talk about Obsession.
Okay.
You have Michael Johnston and Indy Navarrete, and who cares about anybody else in this movie? Yes, Sarah. Yes, his buddy is. They're interesting. They're good characters.
Yeah.
But these 2 characters are unbelievable, especially Indy Navarrete, and I have not been that compelled by a lead female performance since Toni Collette in Hereditary. I think that's the last, and I'll keep it to horror, but also just in general as female performances. For me, the 2 this year are Zendaya in the drama and Indy Navarrete in Obsession.
Yep.
I don't know how to pick. They both do so many different things, and they're both incredible in their roles. And Obsession is a scary horror movie. I was seeing Nikki in the corners of my 2-bedroom apartment when I came back home that night.
Mhm.
I was having dreams about this movie. I was thinking about just the repercussions of the One Wish Willow, of losing your autonomy, all of it. It is a scary, scary movie. It's well made. It's competently shot. It's unbelievably directed. It's under $1 million. It's made almost $500 million at the box office. Obsession is something to behold. And the discussion around it, it's what the people want. Curry Barker, they're going to give him the keys to the horror kingdom after this one. And I don't blame them.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to this discussion, and that makes me really, really sad. Because all I can tell you about this movie is how it felt watching it, and it felt inspiring. And everything that came after this film, the less than $1 million budget, the 420 something million box office gross. This movie was set to be in theaters for a couple of weeks. Like less than 45 days, less than a normal studio run. You can still see showings of Obsession at my theater here in Oklahoma City. Now there's 4 a day, but there's 4 showings of Obsession. A movie that's been out since like
middle of May.
Movies that came out the end of June or the start of July are no longer in the theater.
Yep.
When Spider-Man Brand New Day came out last week, everything else went away. There were still 4 showings of Obsession in my theater in Oklahoma City.
Wow.
The movie's been out on physical disc for almost a month. I mean, this movie has done things that no movie in the past, at least since 2020, has done. I mean, it's a movie that proved that young people still want to go to the movies. It's a movie that proved that cinema doesn't have to be dead.
Yep. Or it costs $250 million to make.
Or it costs $250 million to make and be terrible. And you talked about Backrooms being a meme movie. Obsession is churned out memes like crazy. I mean, you can't get on social media without seeing some little blurb of something or another. One that I see every now and then is when I tell my wife I have to work late. And it's Indy Never Ready. It's Nikki going, no, 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 don't do that. I thought we were having a nice day. This movie has shaped the culture.
Yep.
I mean, not just the horror culture, but movie culture in general. It's proven
100%.
something that that we really needed to be proven. We needed
Yep.
to know that movies still matter. We needed to know that young people still want to go to the theater and to have that experience together. And I'm like you, I saw Nikki, I was checking the corners of my house for
Mhm.
weeks after
Mm.
watching Obsession. And I'm already a little, pardon me, obsessive about checking everything before I go to bed, making sure doors are locked, lights are out, nothing's in the shadows. I was checking it for weeks to make sure Nikki was not there.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Wonderful. Everything.
it is.
I mean, the characters that they do is amazing. But even Sarah and his male friend, who I'm forgetting the name of, even as these side characters that are there for a couple moments, they're excellent, and
Mhm.
you connect with them in a way that, when it's all said and done, you feel for every character. Some people
Yep.
say they don't feel for Bear. Bear's this horrible major villain that was just despicable. Yes, but no. Bear was
Yeah.
a guy who made some really, really, really bad decisions, and he
Yep.
kept making really, really bad decisions. He was selfish, yes. He was foolish, yes. He was evil, no. But that's what's so wonderful about this film is the discussion that it's created, the fear that it shows, the way that it made you care for these characters, the way that it did. It took Indy Neveretti and blew her up. I mean, her life will never be the same. And she was struggling to pay rent after this movie
Yeah.
was filmed for years. And now that this film is out, everybody's going to want to work with her.
100%.
So
100%.
I feel like I can't well review Obsession except to say I loved this film.
Yep.
It's one of the best horror movies ever. It's it's an inspiring film as an aspiring filmmaker, as somebody who loves horror, as somebody who wants to make movies that make people feel. Obsession is the film of the year. It just really
Okay.
is.
It's hard to argue with that. All right, so we'll talk about the drama briefly, and then we'll have our brand new day discussion, and then rank our Spider-Man movies and call it a night. But the drama, Andy Navarrete does with her face, creating two different people.
Mm-hmm.
Zendaya does the same, but it's not supernatural. It's not possession or taking a back seat, however you want to describe it, and obsession. But Zendaya does it with the way in which context has now revealed a whole new person. Maybe. And I think what Borgley does, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, Borgley, Christoph Borgley, I think is the name of the director. And I've not seen his other work. I've not seen Sick of Myself or Dream Scenario.
I've seen Dream Scenario.
Yeah,
I didn't
remember
like it
you.
at all.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And now the drama is your number 2 on the year. Crazy. But the reveal when you're watching the trailer, spoilers for the drama. When you're watching the trailer, you're wondering, what could this possibly be? What could the reveal be that would put this movie into the tailspin that it goes into? Robert Pattinson and Zendaya seems like a very meet cute story, right? And they're all discussing what they've done. That's been horrible, right? You have Robert Pattinson.
Thing they've ever done.
The worst thing they've ever done. Robert Pattinson, he bullied people. One guy threw his girlfriend to a dog at the time so he could run away. You have Alana Haim, who, by the way, I think commits the worst thing by leaving a specially abled person in a room by themselves and running away.
And leaving them there for hours, if not a couple of days. And not telling their parents when they're looking for their child where they are.
but it's not as bad as what Zendaya did.
Right.
At least not according to her, right? And what it does when you have the Zendaya reveal of that she planned a mass school shooting. The pin drops and everyone hears it. And you even start to think about the poster of the drama. And the posters of the drama is her 4 fingers, right? Because she's showing off that she's getting engaged. But one of the other posters for the drama looks like a gun.
Yep.
It did this thing where it shifts the perspective. How do you feel about this? And the entire film is discussion upon discussion upon philosophical discussion, also justification, also is it okay? Is it not okay? Are they still the same? Are they different? What do I need to do to become okay with this? Who's having what discussion without me? How do they really feel about me now? Who will I really be? And even, of course, it even comes to this discussion when you learn that she was so anti-gun after what she realized she was wanting to do, that she got rid of her father's gun. But it wasn't that she got rid of her father's gun because she hated guns. It was because she was planning on using it.
Mm-hmm.
So even in that discussion, when they're having it at her wedding, you're still seeing how people are still operating based on the knowledge that they believe they have.
Right.
On a certain person based on their actions. It is an incredibly cringy. Oh, yeah, there's so many great moments, so many great things about this film. It feels like one big moment. It's hard to pick a moment that stands out separate from the others because they're so fluid going into each other. And it's more about the idea of what this movie represents and how they discuss versus moments that capture your attention, kind of like the Odyssey. Right. That's a series of events that happen that are extremely entertaining, extremely compelling, and the drama is one big moment of you sitting there with your breath held, because how are they going to respond? Is it worse than the worst thing you've ever done?
Yeah.
And would you ever tell your friends the truth, knowing this is how they could respond?
Yeah, this movie, I mean, as I said, it's going in my mind constantly bouncing between a 4 and a 5. And I don't know where it's going to land by the end of the year. It was not one that I was expecting to be so incredible. Because it is one that has been so polarizing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I listened to Film Spotting's discussion on the film when I was like, I'm not going to watch it, so I might as well listen to their discussion. I didn't remember a lot of their discussion going in. I'm thankful that I didn't. They didn't reveal, as we did reveal, but they also discussed it 2 weeks after it came out, not 4 months. So there you go. You got your warning. But there was something about this film, as you're watching things go from bad to worse, and as you're watching these people, yes, Zendaya, but really Robert Pattinson,
also really, really good.
Wrestle through these thoughts of, who is this woman that I'm going to marry? And you see the decisions he makes, the questions he asks, the discussions he has, both subtly and not so subtly, very not so subtly, with, in some cases.
Yes. The lunch conversation.
Yeah.
Very good conversation.
Very much not subtle at all.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of those films that, again, it's really hard to explain. It's one you have to sit with.
Yes, it
and
is.
To me, the beauty of this film was that it begins and it ends with second chances.
Yep.
And that's how you have to build a relationship, with second chances and third chances and fifth chances and 10th chances and 420th chances. Because the movie begins with Robert Pattinson trying to flirt with Zendaya's Emma, which, by the way, this is probably Zendaya's best performance ever.
I would argue, yes.
But he's trying to flirt with her, she's at this coffee shop reading a book, got an earbud in, and he's trying to flirt, and he's speaking on this side of her face. And eventually she sees him there or something. She goes around, she goes, I'm sorry, what? Because she's deaf in that ear. She can't hear a word he's saying. He's standing there bumbling and fumbling and trying to flirt and trying to connect with her, and she doesn't hear a thing. And she goes, do you want to maybe try again? And he goes back to his table. He sits back down because he's incredibly socially awkward. He sits back down, he gets back up, and he goes over and he tries again. From the moment they meet, their relationship is about second chances. And throughout this film, through all of, I believe his name's Charlie, through all of Charlie's overthinking everything, overanalyzing the questions, the wondering, is Emma the same person? And then to come to the end of the film and they're like, it doesn't matter who you are. I'm still choosing you. Forget all of them. Forget Alana Haim. Nobody cares about that woman anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start over. Do you come here often? I've seen you before. And it's that extension of grace throughout this film that's really what hits me the most with this film. And that's really why I'm considering this may be a 5-star film. Because it's that extension of human grace to another person that you could argue Zendaya didn't do anything. Like, she literally thought about it. She planned it. She would have done it had this other thing not happened first. Maybe. But then she realized, nope, I can't do that. And she didn't do it. Everybody else did it. She didn't.
Yep.
But that offering of grace of whether you did it or whether you didn't, whether you were or whether you are, who you are now is the one I'm choosing to build my life with. And you screwed up, and I've screwed up. Charlie screws up pretty royally throughout the days leading up to their marriage a couple of times. But at the end of the day, do you want to try again? You want to just run that back, start over? And to me, that's the beauty of the drama. And that's why it may be a perfect film.
Well said. And I think it's a great segue to our final discussion because you talk about starting again. We've already mentioned there are going to be spoiler warnings for Brand New Day.
Yeah, so
and arguably,
the part where you should stop the podcast and go see the film.
Brand New Day is a movie about accepting yourself, accepting the situation that you're in and making the best of it. Knowing no matter what you do, you can't change the outcome of what's happened. When you talk about Peter losing his aunt, again, spoiler warning, final one, Jean Grey losing her sister. There's this realization, Punisher losing his family. You could even argue Hulk losing Black Widow. You can't bring them back. They can't come back. Peter not only losing his aunt, but losing MJ, losing Ned. So what do? We have a brand new start. And the end of the film, as you said earlier, start over, walks up, and he does his handshake with Ned, and it's back like muscle memory. And the understanding, which I don't think it's quite what they were leading us to believe it is. I think he's remembering that MJ called him Peter whenever Spider-Man swung out the window, and he said Spider-Man's name is Peter.
Mm-hmm.
When he says his name is Peter, I think he's put together he's Spider-Man. I don't know that he's put together he's his friend from the past yet.
I don't think so.
That could be something that but it's Peter extending that. Let's start over. Relationships are about second chances.
Yeah. To me, the past several films that Marvel's put out, Marvel's been on fire. mean, they've put out Thunderbolts, which I thought was a great film. It's a beautiful film that looks at mental health, and how that affects somebody, and how that can take somebody who was maybe meant to be a hero and twist them into a villain. And then how do you get back to the hero? Who do you rely on when your mind is collapsing on you? Fantastic Four First Steps was all about family. Not only was it just the best Fantastic Four that we've gotten ever, and the most comically playful, and the best Galactus, it's a meditation on family. It's about what are you going to do for the people that you love, your chosen family, and also your biological family. And what sacrifices are you willing to make for them? What sacrifices are you willing to make for other people? Is there a line where you're like, nope, it's my family and forget everybody else? And then, like you said, with Brand New Day, we get Spider-Man, we get Peter Parker in a way that I think we've never gotten him before. Certainly in a way we've never gotten Tom Holland before. Tom Holland has always been a very kind of positive, very hopeful, very everything's going to work out kind of Peter. And you and I know that's just not who Peter Parker is.
Mm-hmm.
He is one that carries hope, but Peter Parker always loses everything. That's
Tortured
when
individual.
Peter Parker becomes the hero.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Holland had never lost everything. But coming into Brand New Day, he has nothing. The world does not remember him. They have. It's not that they just don't remember him as Spider-Man. It's that they don't remember him, period. It's almost as if he does not exist outside of Spider-Man. And, we could talk about the opening montage of where he brings in all the rogues. I think this film handles a multitude of characters better than any Spider-Man film ever has.
Okay.
Just easily. I think the way that they create some of those moments and shots, especially in that montage, they're creating a movie for Spider-Man fans.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it's where they take Peter. And this film finally takes Tom Holland's Spider-Man down into the depths to say, what's going to happen? Are you going to come out? Or are you going to die? Are you going to evolve quite literally? Or are you going to shrivel up and die? Because Tom Holland's Peter Parker has always been, he's had kind of those spider sensibilities, that spider DNA that Spider-Man always has. But his webs were created. His gear was scientific. It was all invention and creation and whatever, all of that kind of stuff. In Brand New Day, his spider DNA is starting to outpace his human DNA.
Yep.
There's this, I think it's incredibly hysterical, scene where he starts to make organic webbing. Just like Tobey Maguire did, and it starts coming out of him, and it's this white stuff that's just shooting everywhere, and it's so gross and so disgusting to him, which makes you think, why didn't Tobey Maguire find it gross and disgusting at first when it started shooting out of him?
Yeah, I can.
It's so normal and so natural. Plus, I just thought it was a very interesting kind of illustration of puberty, but we're not going to go into that discussion.
It is.
Going to leave it there at that. So now Spider-Man's faced with a choice. He's got this spider DNA that's increasing in him. It's making him more alert of everything around him. His senses are on crazy high alert. His strength is crazy increased. He's becoming more violent. I mean, he harms a police officer inadvertently when he's trying to take down the Scorpion. He kind of almost loses control of himself to where there's this monster inside of him that he's like, I gotta silence it. I've got to create this tech that can lower back my DNA. I've got to know what Bruce Banner did to silence the Hulk. That's where we get the Hulk coming in his, I think, very well handled cameo and screen time. I also think they completely fixed the Hulk after messing him up in Endgame. So love that. Okay. Absolutely love that. And then you get Jean Grey. You get Sadie Sink's character, which everybody knew she was Jean Grey.
Yeah.
She's a redhead coming into the Marvel universe. They're
Yeah.
fixing to make an X-Men movie
Right before Doomsday.
right before Doomsday, right when they're in talks to make the first MCU X-Men movie. It's Jean Grey. We know who
Yep.
she is. That being said, there's still a joy and still an excitement in that reveal. And I think with Sadie Sink's Jean Grey, again, I'm a Sadie Sink fan, so I'm a little biased. But I think we get the best Jean Grey that we've ever gotten. And I think Famke Jason is really good in the original X-Men trilogy. I think we kind of Dark Phoenix, that storyline falters. It always has. She's pretty solid as Jean Grey. I think that Sophie Turner is all right. She's enjoyable. Yeah. She's passable. But with Sadie Sink, we get a depth to Jean Grey that we've never seen before. One, she's not an adult. I mean, she is, but she isn't. She's like a late teen, I think is how they set up Jean Grey's character to be. And two, we get the backstory of Jean. We get her relationship with her sister. And we see that there was a light and there was a playfulness to her life. But when her sister was gone, everything changed. The one person that loved her and cared about her and understood her that was left in her life was taken. And as Jean is doing these horrible things, as she's taking possession of these people to steal these things to try to get into the Department of Defense to try to find her sister, when all of this is revealed and we start to see this pain that Jean Grey carries that we've never seen before. We've just never had the opportunity to see this in this character. And I think Sadie Sink does this beautifully. I think that she was perfect for this role. I think this was a great place to introduce us to the new Jean Grey, because she is fighting the same thing that Spider-Man is fighting, that Peter Parker's fighting. It's this monster inside their chest that they don't know what to do with. That's why he uses that same tech on her, that same tech to silence her mutant gene, which could be misused by, I don't know, the Humans Against Mutants in the upcoming X-Men film, maybe. Peter, you just gave them the way to destroy mutant kind or to control mutant kind. I don't know. Maybe. Speculating at this point. But I think the way that those two characters mirror each other, and then when the truth is revealed that Jean's not the bad guy, which we know she's Jean Grey, we also know, okay, Jean Grey's not a bad guy. So that part, again, doesn't quite come as a surprise to us, but we learn that through Peter. And we get to experience that surprise through Peter of, I was wrong. And then there's the moment right there at the end where he's trying to get to Jean in the DOD, and he just lets go. He gets rid of that chip. He gets rid of that inhibitor. He gives over to the spider, and it is some of the coolest Spider-Man scenes that we've ever gotten. His fight with the hand there to where he gets to Jean. And then that moment that they have that discussion, they have the bond that they start to build there in that scene, and everything that follows. I loved the film. I thought it was great. I went in for Sadie Sink, and I left a bigger Tom Holland fan. Really excited to see where his Spider-Man can go, because finally, Tom Holland's Spider-Man is Spider-Man. He's got there. It's the man that has been to the worst of it, and he's still come up believing in the goodness of people. And also just one last little side note, and then I'll give it over to you.
Go ahead.
Because I'm super excited to hear what you have to say, especially since you put it so low in your ranking. I don't hate the idea of Peter Parker and Jean Grey forming a romantic relationship. In fact, I think that MJ's time is probably done with Peter. I think the fact that she doesn't remember him is a good time for that relationship to move forward and to move on. And I think Jean Grey could be a great match for Peter. I think we saw a glimpse possibly of that at the very end, where he told her, "You have me. I'm here for you." And then there where she is literally breathing while Peter is on oxygen in the hospital after being shot by the Punisher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
where she is literally breathing for him to keep him alive until he can breathe again. So I'm really hoping Marvel goes in that direction in maybe one of the future films where we get to see those two back together and there's some sort of romantic relationship. I'm all for that. I'm just putting that out there now. Now, my friend,
Okay.
crush my dreams.
I don't want to crush your dreams. I don't want to crush anybody's dreams. I told my wife going into this movie, I said, I'm really hesitant. I said, the reason I'm really hesitant is because everybody is coming out of this movie saying it is God's greatest gift to the MCU. There are people saying we won, as though the MCU has finally returned to full form. There are people saying, which I don't know how anyone, just full disclosure, I don't know how anyone can ever think we're going to get something that was as generational as Infinity War and Endgame.
That's fair.
In a cultural context, I don't think we're going to touch it again. I really don't. And I think that that's okay because you're talking about years and years and years of 1 to 2 movies released a year building this entire universe that we've been waiting on. And you started off with an insane banger, Iron Man.
Yep.
With an insane Robert Downey Jr. performance, right? And you even still had missteps with the Incredible Hulk where it was Ed Norton and not Mark Ruffalo, but it's not even horrible. It's not this giant misstep. You're still able to recover pretty well as you continue on in the story. So when I came into Brand New Day, I was hesitant, but I was hopeful. It is a good Spider-Man movie. It is a decent movie, and it is Tom Holland's best performance as Peter Parker. It is the best Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. All that being said, I'm going to name a couple things that I had issue with. And then I'm going to talk about some of the big positives.
Okay.
One thing that I had a big issue with, and even though I think the director kind of saves it or tries to save it later on, especially at that scene with the fight with the hand, it's very noticeable to me. It kind of reminded me of when I would watch a movie that was clearly filmed during COVID, and you could tell that it was filmed during COVID by the way they edit, by the way they put people in the room, by the way they stage things. It was very evident to me that that's not Tom Holland's body a lot of the time because Tom Holland was busy filming for The Odyssey. And they do this in a very they're trying to say it's thematic. I can sort of see.
Okay.
But I had issue with the fact that we see maybe 20 minutes of Tom Holland's face. 20, 25 minutes. We see a lot of a man walking around in a Spider-Man costume. We hear Tom Holland's voice, right, when he's speaking, but it's clearly dubbed over. It's clearly voiced over, right? And to me, it just kind of bugged me. It's not horrible, but it bugged me. And I just didn't like it. I don't think we dove nearly deep enough into the Jean Grey backstory. Even though I appreciate the VMAX, it being literally just event.
Yeah.
Her knowing that that's the last thing her sister saw when she died. Okay. That was compelling. But I saw her sister for 3 minutes. I don't really care that her sister died. In full transparency, I was not thinking what Jean was going through was warranted enough, her behavior from that moment. Do I believe it? Jean cares about her sister? 100%. But I need to as well. I need to care about Jean's sister. I need to care about, I think it's Sarah. I need to care about Sarah.
Okay.
I know Jean does. I don't. Another person I really didn't care about that really sucked to not care about is MJ. But I also have never really cared about MJ. And I think for some reason that chemistry, in my opinion, actually their chemistry is best in Far From Home.
Yeah.
That's when their chemistry is best, when it's kind of new, exciting. They're exploring what could this be? What's happening? They're in a foreign country. It's new. It's just, that's when it's its best. But here, it falls so flat. When she says, "I don't love you," to Peter, after he says, "I do love you," and she finds the letter, it's like, okay, we knew that. And then at the end, you still have her like kind of fidgeting with her necklace. You kind of have her, she drew him in his like homecoming suit. There's clearly memories that are like coming back to her. So is she falling back in love with him? Well, I don't know. Maybe. Is that what we're supposed to believe? Is that what we're led to believe? Possibly. But for the biggest problem I had with this movie, two last things actually. There's not one memorable scene to me. I walked out of the movie thinking this is a pretty forgettable Spider-Man. I had a good time. But you're talking about Spider-Man is supposed to be becoming an actual spider, and we do absolutely nothing with that other than a couple headaches, and his web is uncontrollable. I thought, man, it'd be pretty cool to kind of see like spider legs coming out of them. Man, it'd be kind of cool to see the actual human spider that they do in the comics and even in the 1990s TV show where there's an element of him having to battle it. So you have that element that you want him to exercise in, but you don't really go to any full level other than some web cocoon, right? But here's my biggest issue. The main theme is that you have what parts of nature are good and bad, right? When he's talking to Mark Ruffalo and he's talking to Bruce,
right?
And Bruce responds with, well, you have to decide what are you suppressing and doesn't need to actually be expressed, right? Great line. Good line in the movie, 100%.
Right.
But Hulk 100% needs to be suppressed, right? The Hulk, as in not the intelligent Hulk who can speak and conversate,
right?
But the rage machine, that can get up to 3 times bigger, needs to be suppressed, right? Because he'll hurt people. And you even hear Bruce saying as he's being put into the ambulance, "Did I hurt anybody? Is anybody hurt? Is everybody okay?" Because he knows
nobody answers him. Which
right
pissed my wife off. She's like, just
tell him everybody's okay, right? But that monster needs to be controlled. The spider within Spider-Man can be controlled, and in fact, using an inhibitor isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world,
right?
Because even though it's changing his biology, it's suppressing him from becoming an actual spider.
Yeah.
So it's like that's not something that we need to say like, oh well. So when you're having this conversation telepathically, which by the way, the best part of the movie is the use of Jean Grey's powers.
Absolutely.
That is the best part of the movie, hands down, across the board. That is the coolest way Jean Grey has ever been portrayed in the MCU, period.
Yeah.
The way she jumps from body to body, it's scary, it's unique. And I just kept thinking, man, I wish Sam Raimi had directed this Spider-Man movie because we would have gotten a true, horrifying, fantastical Tom Holland Spider-Man creep fest of a film. You're talking about one of the scariest characters in the MCU in Jean Grey, and one of the scariest things that happened to Peter Parker, Spider-Man, becoming an actual spider. And it's MCU'd. It's MCU'd. The Punisher is MCU'd.
Yeah.
He waves and cheers from a window like a schoolgirl. That's not who the Punisher is. Like, he might be like, even if he just stood and waved like this, that would be more in line with who the Punisher is. And it's funny, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
that
but he's also playing Peter Parker in that moment too.
He is.
Which Peter Parker
for sure.
Would wave and cheer like a little schoolgirl.
And he very well might. But the Punisher, it just felt... I'll talk about the Punisher here.
They have to keep him PG-13.
They do. And that, I'm like, gosh, dang it. And I would say that the theme of allowing yourself to be a monster, the other thing about Jean is her powers don't control her. She is in clear control of her powers.
Yeah.
So the theme is uneven across the 3 characters because she's in control. Peter is not in control and doesn't even know if he needs to be, but can. And the Hulk absolutely needs to be controlled, right? 100%. Okay. So across the board, you have that. You also don't know what's going to happen with the Hulk because it seems that he kind of remembered Peter, but that's never touched on again. That's never. So maybe it's talked about later.
Well, they
possibly.
ship him off to some asylum somewhere, the hospital or whatever.
Yeah. So it's
because we did some looking at this because it's Bruce Banner and my wife loves Bruce Banner, and apparently he's not in Doomsday, but he's going to turn in Secret Wars or something like that. So I don't know how they're going to story change that. They did it with Ragnarok where he was off world, so he wasn't in whatever. So maybe they'll do a similar kind of thing, and it'll make sense in hindsight. We don't know.
Interesting. Okay, but yeah, so I think that the theme was uneven across the board. I think that the cinematography was decent at times, but I do think there were some CGI moments that I was just not a fan of, that I was like, ooh. But the things I loved about it, and I'll be quick so we can do our ranking. But the Punisher and Tom Holland are incredible together, and they need to always be together as far as these next Spider-Man movies go.
Yep.
Their dynamic is truly special, and it works really, really well. And it brings out the best of Tom Holland and the best of Jon Bernthal, and it's great. I love it because they are adamantly they're both wanting to do the right thing, and they're both doing it from the opposite perspective.
Yep.
Right? Every single time Punisher is just Frank Castle is going to kill them. He's going to shoot them. Okay?
Yep.
And Peter is like, no, we don't need to do that. One last complaint. I'm so sorry. Very beginning of the movie with the tank, right before he meets Frank Castle, right? Or right before they talk, at least in the film. There are cop cars flying beside him, and he's just swinging past them. It's like, oh, we got to dodge so we don't get hit by the cop car where that cop clearly died and that cop clearly got injured and that cop... And it was like, Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker is catching a cop car in the air as it's flying. He's not even trying to save these people. It's like, I need to get to this tank.
Yeah.
It's not the biggest
Fair
complaint.
enough.
But it was one moment that I was like, Peter should care more about that. But I think it's also convoluted. There's a lot of characters we don't need to see. Yelena, she's fine. Happy to see her. We didn't need to.
No.
Scorpion.
That scene was that was weird. That was definitely.
It's a very, very
scene.
Weird scene. I don't hate it.
No.
But it's a very weird scene. It's that really, in the grand scheme of the film, is small potato stuff. But I would say that it is just not. Yeah. So Frank is really the only action person I wish they would have used. I wish we hadn't seen the Hulk. I don't mind the Hulk. I think he does a good job. But I think that he creates a momentum that can't be matched after he leaves.
Yeah.
That fight scene, you're not going to get a good fight scene like that again. You're just not. The hand scene is very MCU'd after he becomes a spider, and I just didn't love that. But enough of what I didn't like. The things I did like. Punisher dynamic. I appreciated Ned. Ned is awesome. He's always great. I really loved his character in this one too.
Yeah.
He seems like he's always been Ned, and I really, really do like that. I appreciate the Tom Holland performance. He's got range. He's fantastic. He does such a good job in this movie.
He does.
I also really appreciated the scene right before he fights the hand with the mask off, as though this was him accepting Peter Parker and accepting Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He's had the two come together, right? Even though he can't, that's why the thing gets messy. But I appreciated that moment.
Right.
I appreciated that aspect of the film. I appreciated the web slinging in the city. New York felt like New York. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was really fun. I really appreciated the end with Ned. That was a great moment. That was really heartfelt and emotional and really well done.
Yeah.
So I think that Tom Holland really made Peter Parker feel like Peter Parker. And I really appreciated that. And I appreciated the Spider-Man. I appreciated Tramell Tillman as the government lead head of the DOD, yeah. And I mean, he did a great job. I love him from Severance, and he was even good in Final Reckoning. But seeing him in this was also great. Loved him. And in fact, if there is a memorable scene, it is the scene where Jean is dragging him across the way. Sadie Sink is a mixed bag for me.
Okay.
Because what I felt like I saw with Sadie Sink was just pissed off Max from Stranger Things. And I don't feel like I saw a dynamic shift. Because even if we had spent more time in the soft era of Jean,
Yeah.
where she is with her sister, I would have got to see more acting chops from Sadie. I would have got to see her kind of exercise her softness that we don't really get to see a lot of in Stranger Things because she's so
Right.
reserved. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I still think she's a great Jean Grey. But a lot of the time, how people were talking about the Odyssey, they would look at Tom Holland or Matt Damon and Anne Hathaway, and they wouldn't see Odysseus, Penelope, and Telemachus. It's like they would see Tom Holland. That's how I felt with Sadie Sink. I would just see Sadie Sink.
Yeah.
I wouldn't see Jean Grey. But I love her performance. I feel better about it. But again, at the end of the day, maybe I rewatch it and I find more problems. What I'm hopeful for is that the following movies, I unfortunately think what's happening with Brand New Day, and I could be wrong. I hope I am, but I think what's happening with Brand New Day is the No Way Home syndrome. We got the 3 Peters, we got the 3 Spider-Mans in No Way Home,
Yeah.
and everybody lost their mind, and it was a 4 or 5-star movie, and it was the best thing MCU had ever done, and it was the most incredible thing we've ever seen, and it's cool, but it was nostalgia.
Yeah.
And that's what got the best of it.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
I think
because I could see that maybe happening a little bit in Brand New Day with the Hulk being there and with Jean Grey being introduced. But I never had that affinity for No Way Home. I always saw through No Way Home as this is a nostalgia play. And it was always just kind of an okay movie for me. Whereas this one feels different in a sense. It feels like the 2 previous films where the MCU is going into something a little more heavy, a little more of a different kind of hero, exploring these ideas that, although maybe they're not exploring them perfectly, they're new and they've never explored them before.
Yep.
And so that's where I'm a little more hopeful that it's not going to be a No Way Home effect. Although to say that it's not false to say that it may be. But I think
you're right.
In a right direction.
And I hope that it is. And I hope that I can rewatch it and I hope that I can like it more on a second watch when I know what's going on and I'm not so caught up in the MCU-ness of this movie.
Yeah.
Because I think the problem with people saying it's the best live action Spider-Man we've gotten since Sam Raimi's is because it's not the best. It's the best live action, maybe MCU Spider-Man, but it still feels like MCU. Yeah. Sam Raimi felt distinct, and it doesn't feel like. It just feels like any generic director could have done this.
Right.
And I'm going to remember Sam Raimi. I'm not going to remember Destin Daniel Cretton.
Yeah.
I think is his name. I'm not going to remember him when I think about Spider-Man. Right. I'm going to remember Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire are inherent together, right? And we'll talk about that here in our ranking. But if you're ready, I say what we do is I'll start with my number 11. You'll do your number 11. We won't spend too much time talking about these because we could. But
yeah, let's do it. Let's hit it.
Perfect.
Number 11.
All right. Number 11, I have, not too shockingly, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I don't think it's a good movie. I think it's got good scenes, but I don't think it's a good movie.
Yeah. Well, I've got The Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay, so the first one.
The first one. Yeah.
Okay. All right. My number 10 is Tom Holland's Spider-Man Homecoming.
So is mine.
Really? Okay. Yeah, Homecoming is aging like sour milk.
Yeah.
And that is unfortunate. But okay. All right. My number 9 is The Amazing Spider-Man.
Mine is No Way Home.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's actually not crazy far from me. So my number 8 is No Way Home.
Mine is Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Okay. My
now
number
that we're
7.
out of all those, we're getting into the really good stuff.
I agree. My number 7 is Far From Home.
So is mine.
Okay. My number 6 is Brand New Day.
Okay. My number 6 is Spider-Man 3, the Tobey Maguire.
Yep. My number 5 is Spider-Man 3.
My number 5 is Into the Spider-Verse.
My number 4 is Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay, this is going to be fun. Okay. My number 4 is Spider-Man 2002 with the Green Goblin.
Whoa. Okay. So Brand New Day, it's high. Okay. My number 3 is Spider-Man 2002.
Okay. My number 3 is Brand New Day.
Okay. My number 2, I'm going to bet we have the same 2, number 1 and number 2.
Okay.
I could be wrong because you might. Well, no, I think we're going to just flip them. My number 2 is Across the Spider-Verse.
Okay. We flipped them.
Yep.
My number 2 is Spider-Man 2.
Yep. And my number 1 is Spider-Man 2.
Yep.
And I think those two, I would, yeah, see, for me, the top 4 are impeccable.
Mm-hmm.
They're unreal Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I don't agree with Brand New Day, but I do think, I mean, it's not far off for me. It's number 6.
Right.
It's only behind one Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie that you would disagree with. It's just flipped there. But, yeah, Across the Spider-Verse and Spider-Man 2, yeah. And did you have a nostalgia for those Spider-Man movies?
I grew up with Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Okay. I didn't know if you did or not.
And really, I grew up with Spider-Man. I mean, he was the superhero that I grew up with.
That makes sense. So, all right. Well, there you have it. That's halfway through 2026. And we have named a lot of movies. I don't want to forget this. I almost did earlier. But one movie I did not put on my anticipation list that I don't know why I didn't is the Robert Pattinson Primetime, where he plays Chris Hansen. That is, of course, in my anticipated list. I just watched the trailer for it today. Looks incredible. So, but closing off, we thank you guys for listening. We always recommend checking out other podcasts, film essayists, podcasts such as Film Spotting, their sister podcast, The Next Picture Show, Blank Check with Griffin and David. I do recommend Real Talk. They're really fun, easygoing content. They have good discussions as well. And we also recommend The House of Tabula, recommend Thomas Flight, like Stories of Old, for more in-depth film essayists and film culture conversation in general. So we can't wait for you guys to join us for our recap at the end of the year. All the films we got to watch, all the films we didn't, and what it's going to look like for the year 2026. But if you ask me, I think we've had a pretty decent 2026. And we've had a lot of movies make $1 billion, and I think we have a couple more to go.
It's been an unreal year, and I'm really hopeful for what the rest of the year will bring.
Absolutely. So until next time, enjoy your 2026, watch more movies, and we'll see you then.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
I'm finished.